Hi, everybody, and welcome to FNS Wrestling Podcast, episode 35. I am your host, and with me, as always, is my teenage son, Jackson. Say hello, Jack.
Hello.
What a gorgeous day out there, huh?
Yeah, looking good. Got my booster juice, chilling.
Sunny, it's above zero, there's no snow on the ground. The forecast for like the next 5 or 6 days is like 15 degrees Celsius and sun, so that is amazing. Puts everybody in a better mood. Even walking to the booster juice, we ran into some neighbors. Everybody's out with their dogs walking around in a better mood, and you're drinking booster juice into the microphone. Nicely done. So yeah, welcome back to the podcast. We're here to talk about what we always do. So there'll be some AEW Dynamite, some NXT, some Impact Wrestling, some Ring of Honor, a wrestling rewind match of Jack's choosing, some discussion of wrestling figures, some wrestling trivia, and him using his straw right into the microphone, which is always pleasant. So welcome back, everybody, if you're a regular listener, or welcome if you've just found us for the first time. We're a father and son team of passionate wrestling fans that just decided during a pandemic to record conversations that we pretty much have anyways. So we thought we'd share them with you. And I don't know, my weekly Raptors update, not great. The roster is back, but they lost their 7th in a row last night to Utah. Although Utah's the best team in the NBA. So frustrating,
Really?
But at least they have their players back. Yep. As of now, they are. They're dominant. I know you're not a sports guy. My other thing is I'm excited about is March Madness is basically getting underway, which is one of my, as a huge sports fan, one of my favorite things of the year.
Well, what was September sameness? So instead of madness, it's like...
No, I want madness, man. March Madness. So I'm a big Syracuse fan. They're in the tournament. I don't have huge expectations for them this year, but we'll see how things go. How was your week at school?
It happened.
It happened.
It was very slow this week, I think.
I agree.
Both of us, I remember saying it kind of felt like a Tuesday on Monday, which is always a great feeling.
Well, and I think part of the issue is you're supposed to be on March break this week, but because of this, I don't know if you've heard.
That's terrible. I forgot.
This global pandemic going on, they've pushed our March break until April.
Now
so
we get April break. Although I think that's like Mania week or like week after Mania week. So it's like either way, that's good.
I think it's the week after Mania.
It's around Mania.
Yeah.
Which is
that means we
way.
can stay up later and watch it all, hopefully.
Yeah.
But anyways, I don't know. I don't have much else to banter about here. If you want to...
I bought this thingy on... So I got a bunch of credits on SuperCard.
Yeah.
The wrestling card game. I got this... They got one of these, like... I don't even know what to call them. They're, like, these special kind of, like... Not events, but these kind of pack... kind of mini games that you can buy.
Yes.
And so basically this one's called Rule the Ring. They're doing, like, an Austin one because it's Austin 316 day, week... You know, all that jazz.
Yep, it is. I've heard way too much about that this week. Because honestly, he's not the greatest guy ever if you look into it. But anyways, I don't want to get into
I get Austin 316 day because 316, haha,
and
yeah.
he's super
but like
popular.
a whole week.
I know. It's too much.
But like this one is basically there's like a ring of like card packs and then there's one arrow. If you land on the arrow, you move up to the next ring. There is 6 total. And if you get a pack, then after you get the pack, it's another arrow, and you only get a certain amount of spins before like it kind of terminates it. I won't go too much into detail. And the last ring, if you get to it, is this really cool special card. And so I bought like 2,600 credits, I think it was.
Yeah.
And I was able to get 2 of the card.
So you got lucky, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Big surprise.
I went through twice, which is cool because I don't usually buy credits, like because. A lot of the YouTubers, they'll be, like, the best here, right? But that's because, like, it's very pay to win in that aspect.
Right.
So, yeah, and so I don't usually get, like, these special cards when, like, they're actually relevant, so
it's kind of a big deal and you're excited?
Yes.
Well, that's good. If you're happy, I'm happy. Mm-hmm. Shall we move into some talk of wrestling?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let's do it. So our first segment, as always, will be us discussing some of the week's wrestling news and rumors. Okay, so I always start out with the ratings from this week's Wednesday Night War, and I'll do that again here. Do you remember what week of the war it was? This is my new quiz every week. Week what?
74.
Close.
75.
Correct.
Yeah.
So week 75, and again, it's my copy and paste of the first state basically every week. Week 75 of the Wednesday Night War saw AEW
You really just
Dynamite.
gotta change the number.
I literally do. AEW defeated WWE NXT in viewership and ratings yet again.
I am shocked. I'm speechless.
So Wednesday's episode of Dynamite was taped the St. Patrick's Day Slam edition, and it drew 768,000 viewers on TNT, which is up 3.4% from last week. while NXT showed it was live and it drew 597,000 viewers on USA Network, which is down 13.6% from last week. In the 18 to 49 demographic that they all covet so much because that's the group that spends money and will be alive a long time to spend money, AEW drew a 0.28, which was down 12.5%, while NXT drew a 0.13, which is down 28%. So yet again, AEW wins in both viewership and in the 18 to 49 demo.
Shocking.
And they saw a slight rise in their viewership, while NXT's, because remember last week it was really close, if I remember correctly. So NXT went down.
Right, because that was post-Revolution, correct?
Yep. NXT went down a bit and AEW went up a bit. So another win for AEW. Surprise, surprise.
Yeah, not to spoil it too much, but I felt that this was a fairly lackluster week for the Wednesday Night Wars, in hindsight.
But again, I don't think the ratings reflect the show that week, right? Because
No,
people
I
are
know.
already there watching it.
It's more
so
last week.
It's more about last
Well,
week
just
or
like
what led
in
into
hindsight, having watched the shows now, I feel like, I don't know about you, but I just felt it was a very lackluster week, just like...
It wasn't my favorite Wednesday for sure, but we'll get into that.
It's one of the lull weeks, kind of.
Yep. What do you have for us?
So WWE always got like their kayfabe hosts of WrestleMania. Last year we got Gronk, and then when he won the 24/7 title and got chased away as Titus
Thanks for
O'Neil.
reminding me of that.
Yes. Any guesses? Remember, think stupid.
Well, Bad Bunny's already gonna be a
not
mega
Bad Bunny.
star. Charlie Caruso's gone. Can't pick her.
I saw that.
I don't know. You put me on the spot with guessing things. I have no idea.
Okay, it's
have no
Titus
guess.
O'Neil again, and
Oh, okay. I've heard his
Hulk
name
Hogan.
recently. No. Those two together. That's interesting because one's a known racist and one is a visible minority
yeah.
who was not a big fan of some of the known racist non-apology apologies, I think.
Oh.
So that's kind of an interesting dynamic there.
Yeah.
But anyways, I'm never happy to see
I
Hulk
just thought
Hogan.
Hulk Hogan that.
He's revealed himself to be most of a trash bag of a human, and I'm pretty much done with him, and I'm
probably
not thrilled.
changes your opinion from like decades ago.
Yeah, so I'm not thrilled to see him involved. But anyways, I get what they just want attention, so that's how they're going to get it, I guess.
I think there's other methods, but...
Right. So what I have is, according to the Wrestling Observer, Jack Evans has heat with, quote, people you don't want heat with backstage at AEW.
That's exactly what I read.
So apparently it was a match on Dark where he did a Phoenix Splash and caught 10 with a elbow
he was
to the
bleeding
face.
like crazy, like the mouth. It got Dark temporarily removed from YouTube, actually.
And they also had to...
because, like, you had, Brody Lee Jr., a child fist bumping a guy bleeding profusely from the mouth.
And apparently there was blood on the hand, maybe too. He was attempting a Phoenix Splash, didn't quite go right, elbowed the guy in the face really hard.
I think he should not be happy, but I don't think he should get, like, necessarily heat for that. It's not really...
It depends if they perceive he was sloppy or something. Right, there might be other factors.
Yeah, it might not have been his fault, so I don't think, like...
No, but I mean, it also might not be the first thing they have an issue with. Who knows? Jack Evans... Who knows? So he was noticeably absent from Angelico's match on Dynamite.
Yeah, I was
well,
like,
right?
No Jack Evans, and Angelico got no entrance. That's disrespectful.
And to be honest, Evans has been probably visible on Dynamite more than Angelico lately, right? Because he's been helping out the Acclaimed with stuff. So yeah, I don't know if that's what's going on with that, but it's from a reputable source, so it sounds like there's something going on there.
TH2 need to be useful more, man.
I love Angelico, but we'll get to that. Well, what else do you have for us?
An earthquake hit a New Japan pro wrestling event.
Yeah, like literally in the middle of a match, right?
Tsunami warning, I think. Yeah, involving my boy Jay White. Don't worry, he's okay.
Well, hopefully everybody's okay, and hopefully the tsunami warning to follow is hopefully nothing, but scary.
Interesting. Actually, I'm going to see what the exact match was because I just found the article again. It was Yujiro Takahashi, my boy, and Kenta versus Okada, Ibushi, and Tanahashi.
I saw a little bit of it in Kenta. And one of the wrestlers was basically trying to keep the crowd calm. You could see as soon as the camera started shaking, he was like telling the crowd to just like relax,
and
sort of thing.
The earthquake was a 7.2 on the Richter scale. Don't know what that is.
That's how they measure earthquakes, and I believe that is fairly substantial. Like that's a pretty
that would
big
explain like the now tsunami warning.
Yeah.
That's not good. So
we hope everybody's
hopefully
safe.
Everything's fine.
And that damage is minimal and that the tsunami doesn't happen would be our goal.
That would be nice.
Yep. The next thing I have is that early indications are that both shows for WrestleMania will in fact sell out, and you have to understand that that's basically with no international fans, right? There's not really people traveling to the United States to go right now. So
right, like if we wanted to go, we couldn't.
Right. It's like the Wrestling Observer site reported that as of Friday afternoon, there were under 1,400 tickets remaining for each night. Now, they're not saying selling to full capacity, right? But they're still clearly selling
of the tickets that are being sold.
Right. Apparently, this was assisted. They had an internet pre-sale that went on Thursday.
Because this is what, 25,000 fans, right?
Yeah, where they were aggressively promoting numerous pre-sale codes through social media channels and stuff. And they've already posted their liability waiver and release for fans attending that they have to sign for any risk that they are assuming, basically, by being in attendance. But it is an outdoor facility. They're not going
it's going to be one of those big, fat stadiums.
Right. So hopefully everything goes well, and it's not what they call a super spreader. Hopefully everybody is safe.
Yeah.
What do you have?
That's cool, because I do want fans in some capacity.
I do, too. I really don't want I mean, I'm not putting myself at risk by going, but... selfishly, I don't need to see the Thunderdome for WrestleMania or digital
now
screens.
I want NXT TakeOver to be in the same stadium. That would be nice, so that we could get fans. That would be nice.
It would be nice.
I would appreciate that very much.
Yep. What else do you have?
Speaking of NXT, Rhea Ripley is about to get ruined. She's making her debut this Monday on
Rhea
Raw.
Ripley.
Yes.
Career. Yep.
Even if Vince likes her, she's going to get ruined. That's how it works.
I don't know. She might be a can't miss, right? Like, she's so much what they look for.
You would think that.
But who knows?
You never know. They never fail to amaze me in how they screw up everybody.
Well, good luck to her, because I think she's cool. So
you think Keith Lee's a can't miss. He's big
and
he's unique, but, like, look at him now.
That is true. So hopefully she does well.
Yeah.
The only other thing I wanted to say was that AEW Elevation debuted this week, and I did check it out, and it was fairly disappointing because it is essentially just another episode of Dark.
To be fair, it does have Dark in the name.
I was hoping for... I watched a bunch of it, nothing more than squash matches or enhancement matches at best, with a few short promos by people. The format of the show did nothing for me. I don't really think I'll watch it again unless there's a match that I hear is amazing or something. Big Show actually does a pretty good job on commentary, but there were times... And again, I didn't watch the whole thing. I sort of cherry-picked some matches and things. There's times where he's talking a lot, and he's the color guy, right? So in theory, he shouldn't be talking the most, I don't think, but he does. He sounds pretty good.
That's good.
One thing I can say
they seem to be using him right then, right? So
yeah,
that's good.
One thing I liked about it that I told you was that they put timestamps on the YouTube so that you can go straight to whatever match or segment you want.
Was it live streamed?
I don't know. I didn't watch it live. I was a few days late checking it out.
So then that's probably why.
It's just a ton of matches where you know exactly who's going to win. And
yeah,
then
which there's like at least
promos.
Like one match where it's like, I don't know, even like...
Well, they did have Riho and...
Maki Ito?
Maki Ito was the main
like
event,
something like that. Like,
right? And then you got...
But maybe like something else too, though, right?
I saw a promo from QT Marshall. I saw the opener.
That sounds interesting.
Jungle Boy and Danny Limelight, where there was a couple botches in that by Danny Limelight that were unfortunate. I kind of cherry-picked a few matches here and there, but I was not impressed. It was essentially... It felt almost no different from watching Dark to me, which I'm fine with squash matches and enhancement matches. I just don't need to watch a 2-hour program full of them, right? So it won't be on my must-watch list, but I'll check out things if I hear there's something worth seeing.
Nice.
Anything else for you?
So Edge beat Jey Uso on SmackDown.
Duh.
Yeah.
Surprise.
He was wearing cool, like, blue attire, so at least he's wearing new gear.
Right.
But the point of this is he is now the special guest enforcer for Daniel Bryan versus Roman Reigns at Fastlane.
Yes. Which we will be previewing, right?
Yes, we are previewing that in any other wrestling business. This could further make things more interesting, but I still don't care.
No, I don't have a lot of care either. I have no other news items. So
and
it's all
my last one is your girl Kylie Ray is returning to wrestling.
Yay!
I saw another thing that she's apparently still signed to Impact.
I think she is, and they said they held no ill will towards her and that she was welcome back.
That's good. And I'm sure AEW would be the same because they're a good company, so...
Yeah, and I think she's fantastic. I hadn't seen her much and really enjoyed seeing her, so I hope her mental health is in order and that she's ready to go. And
she's returning on June 5th at the Stadium Series show for Warrior Wrestling. She's defending her women's title. So it's nothing too mainstream. Like, she's not going to Impact yet or AEW or whatever, but she's easing into it, and that's good.
Yeah, I'm happy for her. I think she's really talented, and I enjoy her in-ring and character, so I'm just happy she's healthy and back, and I hope she makes her way to TV where I get to see her, because I think she's really good.
Mm-hmm. And the working relationship, the Forbidden Door nonsense, will allow her to work for AEW, even if she's not.
Yeah, we could get even some cooler matchups, right? Because people are sort of going from show to show now. That'd be cool. All right, does that wrap it up for you? Mm-hmm. All right, well, let's move into our first in-depth review from the Wednesday Night Wars, and that is taking a look at this week's edition of AEW Dynamite.
St. Patrick's Day Slam, baby.
That's right.
So we open the show with my boy Penta versus not my boy Cody.
Penta's gear was looking sweet as always. Doesn't even need to be said, really. I mean, he always looks amazing.
It's a special show, so he was wearing a little different. So Penta just immediately kind of does a tope onto Cody on the ramp mid-entrance, and then they go into the ring for a second, then they spill back to the outside. Back in the ring, Penta rips off Cody's green shirt with his logo on it because it's St. Patrick's Day.
Lots of green in the crowd.
Green. Yeah, there's also green. I think there's Jurassic Express shirts or something.
Yes, I think it was too.
When in their match, and he chops him across the chest. Cody no-sells, kind of no-sells, or he kind of power sells. You know what I mean? Where he's
Yep. It's like the Japanese strong, power-up sort of spot.
Or him basically saying, "You suck, Penta."
Yeah.
And then he hits a gourd buster drop. Penta does not suck. Sling Blade by Penta for a 2 count. And they're like, "Oh, they could have put Cody away." Okay. Sure.
It never has put anyone away, but could have put Cody away.
Of course, yeah. And of all people, could put Cody away, right? The drop down uppercut by Cody, because he always does that. Penta goes over the top in the corner, and then he hits a nice backstabber for 2.
I did like that combo.
Penta leans like a steel barricade that was behind the barricade. A barricade piece.
Oh, yeah.
He leans that on the barricade. A Frankensteiner by Cody shortly after. Kicks to the shoulder by Penta. More arm targeting by Penta. Dom Gear by Penta. Disaster kick by Cody. Suicide dive into the propped barricade piece by Cody. Arm kick and an overhand chop by Penta. Thrust kick by Cody, followed by a destroyer and a Cody cutter for 2. Nice little sequence there.
I didn't love that Penta takes a destroyer and immediately stands up because he had to take the Cody. So to me, a destroyer, that's a pinfall or a super mega near fall. That's not he stands up and takes another move. So that kind of bugged me. Not to criticize Penta, but it was to allow Cody to get his offense in, of course.
Right. And then a crossroads for 2, because Cody's a dork and can't put him down to 1.
Penta can kick out of everything until... Sorry, keep going.
Yeah. A vertebreaker for 2 by Cody, that was not the best. It was fine.
It was the weakest vertebreaker I've seen, but I also think they just wanted to do it safely, because that move looks really, really dangerous when people hit it. So yeah, it wasn't the best one I've seen, for sure.
Cody slams Penta's leg into the ring post. Penta gets out of the figure 4 and does the arm snap thingy, but then Cody, of course, is able to just roll him up for the win.
Yeah, so... For me, I was just starting to get into the match. And then basically Cody just no-sells the arm breaker and rolls up Penta. It wasn't even the strongest roll-up in the world.
It was
so the man kicks...
Sunset flip, kind of?
The man kicks out of a destroyer followed by a Cody cutter, and then kicks out of a vertebreaker, but can't...
And crossroads.
And a crossroads, but then can't kick out of this pin that didn't look super strong. So I guess maybe that's why they let him kick out of so many big moves, since this was how he was going to lose. I didn't dislike the match. I think it was a fine opener, but I thought it was just starting to pick up and get interesting. And then they sort of pulled the rug out from under me and it was over. I felt like it was cut short and that they have more to offer than this, but I'm not saying it was bad. Yeah. I sound critical of it, but I enjoyed it. It could have been a lot better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was a little short too. But I thought it was fine and a good choice for an opener. But I cannot stand the finish, not just because Penta lost, but because that move took people out in Lucha Underground, for a while. It destroyed people. And Cody just shrugs it off and is able to get the win. And that took people out when they were perfectly fine.
Then he sold his shoulder after the match.
Right. And it took out people who were perfectly fine. But Cody had a freaking, arm injury. Like, his arm was already hurt.
And he no-sold it and
rolled him up. And he's still, like
on Lucha Underground, you were gone.
He was fine,
when Penta did that.
Cody with an arm injury is too strong.
Yep.
I don't know. Didn't love it. It was fine.
Yep, I agree. Fine opener is about... Could have been a lot better, especially with those two guys. And we're critical of Cody and stuff. Not generally in ring, right? My criticism of him is you're playing a super mega babyface and everything you do is a heel to me. It's not the in-ring that I have a problem with Cody, so this match I think should have had more to offer.
So get a Young Bucks interview, and so they basically say they're the best tag team and that they're going to beat Death Triangle. And they also kind of talked about Phoenix, I think, beating both of them now, right?
I think we missed a little bit of the post-match.
Oh, yeah, there was...
They attack Cody's shoulder some more. Dustin Rhodes, the Gun Club, come out. QT Marshall shows up a little bit late, right, wearing his Nightmare Family jacket, wondering if Cody was okay.
Yeah, and kind of just more QT.
And my thing was, like, honestly, who could possibly care about QT Marshall's storyline? This is the type of story that they should be developing on Elevation, not Dynamite, right? This is a low to mid-card story. So what you do is you put it on Dark or Elevation, and if it's well received there, then maybe you transition it to Dynamite. Because I don't think anybody's tuning into Dynamite hoping to get their fix of QT Marshall. No offense to him. But anyway, sorry. Yes, the Young Bucks did have that promo.
So Don Callis interrupts and said he admits he was faking the injury, but when they kicked him, like the eye injury, right? But he wanted the Bucks to kick him because he wanted to see like the real Young Bucks, like they were in Japan, kind of like what Omega's done now. Like Omega's changed and he doesn't recognize the Bucks because the Bucks have become like, I don't know, kind of like weak is what he was saying, like
right,
just like a shell of their former selves.
They're just gone soft, kind of.
Right.
Yeah.
And he says the Bucks should change too.
And was there something about a shirt that said "Do not slap the leg when kicking" or something? They gave a shirt for.
That's probably just a shot at WWE.
It was.
I don't remember.
So I think Callis is absolutely killing this character.
What did Excalibur say? That was really funny. He's just
a smug, condescending. Oh, it's I have it here. Excalibur said that Callis was living up to his reputation as human garbage.
Then so what he said later was he's the human embodiment of Pond Scum.
Yeah, the commentary team has really ramped up their hatred of Callis, and I think it's fine, right?
Excalibur, though.
Because this is an invading guy from another company.
Right.
So
Who's also being a scumbag. And Excalibur tore into him. That was pretty funny.
So Callis is doing a great job with this smug, condescending character, and like... His version of playing mind games is actually somewhat believable in the world of pro wrestling compared to a lot of people. Right. My only issue with this story is I don't really find the Young Bucks super effective as sympathetic baby faces. They've too recently been doing like heel shenanigans or pseudo heel stuff.
I think they need to do like a AEW Bullet Club.
And honestly, character work isn't the Young Bucks' strength necessarily, right? They're not the best actors in my opinion. I have trouble feeling bad for them, especially when you compare it, for me at least, to like when Hangman Page was doing this, right? This whole like, am I with them, am I against them? And I cared so much. Something about Page was just more engaging and interesting, where the Young Bucks, I'm like, yeah, I want to see the matches and stuff that come out of it, but I'm not like super thrilled with the story going on. But again, it'll lead to interesting matches and combinations, so I was okay with it, and Callis is doing great.
Yes, so then we get a squash match. Jade Cargill versus Danny Jordan, and Cargill easily puts her away with the shift. It's a pump kick, German suplex, and the glam slam for the win.
Yep. I didn't have much to say. A pure squash match, and Cargill didn't screw anything up. So this is all they could have hoped for, right?
Yeah. Sherry's Red Velvet afterwards.
Yeah. So
I have little interest in that.
So yeah, they basically, what was it? Red Velvet was one of the wrestlers at ringside behind the barricade, and then Velvet tried to hit Cargill. And then they get separated, sort of thing. So obviously this is Jade's first feud, and I think that's correctly placed as like a lower card match, right? There's no need to overexpose Cargill yet. Let her take baby steps for a while, because she is fine for the amount of experience she has. I don't have any complaints about her. So yeah, and it feels like if this were WWE, she would already like have a title shot or something. You know what I mean? So I'm fine.
They'd be molding her into the next China.
Right. I'm fine with AEW moving slowly and just sort of letting her get more and more experience. So I don't mind with this being a feud. I'm not sure I need it on Dynamite, frankly, but I guess we'll see.
So next we get MJF and crew promo. So Tully Blanchard starts with the promo, talking about how great it was being in the ring with his group of guys, like their group.
Yep.
He talks about how how they beat up the Inner Circle. They handcuffed Tanner Ortiz. They knocked out Hager with a bottle. They chaired Sammy Guevara, and MJF beat Jericho up with a baseball bat. Tully said this is the baddest group in AEW now, and so when you climb the mountain, there's no place else to go. You're at the pinnacle.
Cha-ching! Right, there's the name.
Blanchard mentioned that at the start of his career, basically, or 34 years ago, he was with the greatest group of guys in professional wrestling, and now he'll finish his career the same way. Kind of saying that they are like the best now.
I thought Tully did a really good job, basically, right? His and we haven't loved all of his promos, but I thought this was really solid. Like, we took out the group that claimed they were the greatest group. We took them out easily.
And he's doing a straight comparison to, like, one of the best.
Right. So I thought he did a really good job here. And it also was a cool introduction of the name. I don't know if I love the name, but it makes sense, right? Once you've gotten to the top of everything, you're kind of at the pinnacle. So I'll get used to it, I'm sure. And I liked the explanation. I thought he did a good job.
And then MJF's first line was kind of funny. He's like, I guess I'm Judas now, which is kind of funny. And he said pretending to like Jericho was no walk in the park, and taking a backseat every single time Jericho would talk, he would have to fall back farther than Jericho's hairline.
Ooh, yeah, he took some nice shots at Jericho.
Yeah,
here.
He said that he played games, he sang and danced, and he's pretending like Chris in his haha dummy bullcrap. MJF said that Jericho thought he was taking MJF under his wing, but MJF was plucking him feather by feather.
Another really good line, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I liked it too.
MJF said he was convinced people think he wanted to create, or to take over the Inner Circle, or to create the Inner Circle, or I don't know, whatever. But the actual goal from day one was to kill the Inner Circle from the inside. He said he wanted to kill the Inner Circle from the inside and create a group that's even better.
Makes sense.
Which is this group. MJF said that Tully Blanchard was right, and he's the greatest man in the history of professional wrestling when he called them the pinnacle. MJF says that is exactly what they are, the pinnacle.
Right, so he's reinforced that this is officially their name now.
Right, which I think it's actually not bad.
Yeah, it makes sense. I'm going to get used to it, for sure. I like the meaning of it more than the sound of it, I think. Yeah.
MJF put over everyone in the group, saying Wardlow's 278 pounds of dominance and the best big man in professional wrestling today. He said Sean Spears is the chairman, the wrestler's wrestler, veteran's veteran, has been held down for far too long, but not anymore, which I think is a fair point.
Yeah, he does a good job of sort of putting them over.
He says that Spears has always been top guy, and he's going to prove it week in, week out now. He threatened doubters by saying Spears will make them eat a chair shot. Then he put over FTR as the only Grand Slam tag team champions in the history of professional wrestling, which I think is just like the main, which is all the WWE tag belts and then the AEW tag belts, which is kind of like the new Grand Slam, I guess.
Yep.
If American Alpha, no wait, never mind. If Chad Gable were to come over
that would be
win
cool.
the tag titles
I would
with
love
someone,
to see him in AEW. Anyway, we could wrestle.
Or if Jason Jordan, but no one likes Jason Jordan.
I do.
Oh.
Well, not his most recent character, obviously, but
yeah, I liked American Alpha.
Yep,
anyways,
me too,
MJ said they're the best tag team on God's green earth, and they look damn good doing it. He said he's only been on national TV for over a year, like a year and a half-ish, and is already the most talked about name in professional wrestling today. MJF said on this microphone and in the ring he is unstoppable. MJF reminded us that he's already 24 years old and he's going to get better with age. MJF said that he's got another 25 years left while knowing that it pisses people off. And he said by the time he's done, Jericho won't be the GOAT because that will be him. And MJF said they are the backbone of AEW for years to come, while adding that they will take every championship that this sport has to offer. And MJF says they want the Inner Circle locker room. And then he says, I'm better than you, and you know it.
Yeah, ends with his catchphrase, as any good heel would. I thought this was a really solid promo from MJF. There were some clever shots taken at Jericho. I thought Tully, as I said, did a good job to start. I'm interested in this feud with Inner Circle, but I still feel like it needs a bit more build or something to kick it into a higher gear for me. There's just a little something else I need. I don't know.
I trust
and maybe it will come when Inner Circle's rebuttal to this, right, is what I'm hoping. MJF did a fine job establishing himself as the head of this faction. I'm still not completely sold on Spears being in it, so we'll see where that goes. But
that's not nice.
But I thought this was good. If I wanted to nitpick, maybe it was a bit long, but I really don't mind listening to MJF talk, right? So I thought this was a solid segment.
Yeah, even if it was long, I thought it was really good. Like you said, Tully I thought did better than he usually
Me
does,
too.
which is
Agreed.
great. Like, I feel like if he hadn't, that would have brought this down greatly. But I thought
even your mother sort of noticed MJF, right? She's just sort of sitting there going, "Who's that guy?" Right? So it kind of got her attention because I think we were just eating dinner or something.
But yeah, so I thought MJF did great, but that's no surprise.
Nope.
I'm really interested to see this group in action.
I don't know if we mentioned it. The show started. Forgive me if you said it and I wasn't paying attention, but the show started with them like getting off of the airplane.
No,
right?
I did not mention
Which
that.
was a cool little spot of them all in their nice suits and stuff.
Which is an homage to...
Right, heading out of the airplane. Very like Four Horsemen-esque looking. I thought everybody looked really cool. It was a cool little start to the show.
But good stuff.
Yeah.
Next we got Matt Hardy, Private Party, and Butcher and Blade, the Matt Hardy Empire, versus Jurassic Express and Bear Country.
Yes.
They're here now.
Yeah.
Marco and Matt Hardy start the match.
Well, and Hardy did a little pre-tape promo, right? Saying it was a little bit longer, but basically it was he's not just building a brand, he's building an empire, I think. And then he talks about Butcher and Blade love money. So this is basically the only character development we get for them. They love money, so they're in my group, which I felt like was
Doesn't everyone?
I thought that was a little bit lazy.
I love money.
A little bit lazy by them because obviously Kingston's turned face, so Butcher and Blade can't be with them anymore. But I thought this was a very lazy explanation.
Yeah, weren't they like brought in by somebody to take out Cody? Remember?
Back when they first came?
I think MJF brought them in.
Yeah,
yes,
I think so
that's
too.
what it was.
They've sort of bounced around a lot, eh? They're like the utility guys of the tag division. Whatever
Yeah.
faction needs to fill their numbers, that's where they seem
or
to
like
go.
when you need mercenaries, there they are,
Exactly.
right? Like,
but it's this whole idea we've never heard that they have any interest in money before, and it's just like, oh, they're in my group because they like money. Okay, fine.
I would have said I'm there in my group because they like to beat people up, and then
Right, they're disgusted with
money.
Eddie Kingston's attitude now. They want nothing to do with him because they're in this business to just hurt people.
And Diamond Carney.
Anyways, sorry, go ahead with the match.
A knee lift by Matt Hardy. Marco as they avoid Racers Edge and slaps Hardy. Jungle Boy gets the tag, drop kick to Hardy, and now we get a big brawl until the faces take control. Bear Country launch Marco onto the heels, which kind of pisses off Jurassic Express, and then Bear Country go for a move. I think one of them did, and one of the boots clips Jungle Boy.
Yeah, so there's dissension on that team pretty much right away a little bit, right?
Because Bear Country eliminated Luchasaurus from the Casino Royale.
Right, that's right.
Because they're not very nice.
Yeah.
Side effect for 2 by Hardy afterwards. Cassidy and Luchasaurus are legal, I think, after a commercial break.
This was my favorite segment of the match when it was Luchasaurus against Private Party, basically.
Yes.
I thought that was the best part.
He just hits a big flurry on both of them. A German suplex to Blade. More kicks and a chokeslam standing moonsault. The kicks are to both Private Party, and then he hits the chokeslam standing moonsault on Cassidy. Butcher breaks the pin, though. A dropkick to Butcher by Marco Stunt. Bronson tags in, which is one of the Bear Country guys. Exploder suplex to Cassie. Marco Stunt tags in, as well as Mark Quinn. Marco tries to fight off Private Party, but is distracted by Hardy, and we get the gin and juice. Hardy tags in, taunts Marco, and hits the best twist of fate this side of Sammy Guevara for the win.
My goodness, right?
Yeah.
It looked pretty good.
I mean, Sammy Guevara's...
Yeah.
That was pretty
but
insane. That one was great, too. So Hardy and Co win.
Is this where I was laughing so hard at the twist of fate? Because it looked like...
He just beat up a child.
It looked like he just, breaks the neck of a child, basically, because Marco Stunt is so... And just the visual of that just made me laugh.
Yeah.
Which is probably not... Maybe I'm not a nice person, but I'm laughing at what looks like a child
and so
getting
Bear
his
Country
neck
and
broken.
Jurassic Express are kind of arguing afterwards. So I guess heel turn sort of for Bear Country.
But we don't even, You
Well,
could
they
call it a
were
heel
baby
turn
faces.
if we knew anything about
I think
them.
they were baby faces. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I this was another match that I was kind of just getting into, and then it was over. I enjoyed it while it lasted, but I felt like Jungle Boy and Butcher and Blade did next to nothing, and that they were just kind of included because they needed to give Matt Hardy's new group a win. So
and
it was
they needed to further this new feud.
So let's fill this group in with, I don't know, throw in Bear Country, right? It was basically felt like it was just thrown together to get Matt Hardy's faction a win.
I feel like it was more to get that feud started.
Get what feud started?
Bear Country and Jurassic Express. There's another one that should be on Dark Elevation.
I guess so.
There's another Elevation feud right there.
Right, and to be honest, I'm not that impressed with Bear Country yet. I mean, to be fair, we haven't really seen them do much at all.
They kind of feel to me like AEW's heavy machinery.
Yeah, that's probably pretty fair. Like, there was a decent suplex the one guy threw, but other than that, again,
I think they did like 2 moves, I think.
I felt this was a little bit lazy, like they threw a team together to face Hardys. Anyways, it was okay, I guess.
Yeah,
I won't harp too much on it.
I thought it was fine and also short like the opener. Seemed to mostly further this new feud that we seem to be getting. I'm fine with that, I guess, but I want to see Bear Country do something.
Or
like
learn something about them. Give me a vignette. Give me something. They're
maybe
just
a vignette in a match.
2 dudes named Bear or whatever they are. So
Boulder and Bronson, I think.
Yeah.
They're fine. It was fine. I don't care that much.
Yep.
It was fine.
It was okay.
It was all fine. Next we get a John Moxley and Eddie Kingston promo. Nice.
Yeah, we did.
Mox said he didn't like the Good Brothers at all because they're cheap shot artists. Kingston made fun of how Gallows looked while mocking the Bullet Club hand gesture and whether they can say Bullet Club or not.
Right. That was kind of funny. The dynamic between these two.
Are we even allowed to say that?
They're clearly good friends.
And
these
Kingston, yeah, which is cool.
Yeah.
Kingston said he used to see that on TNT before, the NWO, of course. Kingston and Moxley kept on talking while wondering if they could say Bullet Club, so they did. Kingston called them to cowards, while him and Moxley are soldiers, while quoting Tupac and Biggie during the promo.
So it's more of this awesome gimmick where, not gimmick, it's probably true, where Kingston's sort of stuck in the 90s, right? Like they talked about it last week, even by the clothes he wears and his fashion is 90s. He's quoting like 90s hip-hop stuff, so it's consistent with his...
Also, credit to the John Report for the promo notes, because since we were watching it late, I just nabbed those from him, and
it
also
works, right?
for the main event, because I just wanted to watch
sometimes
that.
Taking detailed notes is really hard, and we just want to enjoy the show, so
thank
we borrow
you
some
to
notes.
him.
Yeah. I thought this had some funny stuff. These guys are clearly friends, and they're having fun together, and they're not being heavily scripted, right? They're sort of coming in with an idea of what to do and just sort of going with it. My only concern is that they get a little bit, they're not yet, and because I still enjoy this, but they could get a little bit too self-indulgent, right? And just doing things to amuse themselves. But so far, the things that they're choosing to amuse themselves are also amusing me. So
yeah,
I'm
they're
fine
not the Good Brothers, so I don't think you have to worry too much.
No. No, I quite enjoyed this. The dynamic between the two is awesome. They're clearly buddies that can just sort of rip on each other in a good-natured way, and it'll probably entertain me a lot.
Right,
so
and I think they know what's good to do.
I agree.
I think Good Brothers just think they're the best.
Yes. Good Brothers is a good example. They're self-indulgent, and it's not interesting at all. Whereas these guys are still I just think they're more clever and funny. So I liked it.
Maybe more aware of themselves.
Yep.
Next we get a Christian Cage interview. Gross. Christian was backstage for an interview with Dasha Gonzalez. Cage said there's a term in the wrestling business, the type of wrestler that works as hard as anyone in the card, and Christian said that that's a workhorse, and that is him.
Mm-hmm.
No. Cage said that John Moxley said he thought he knew about wrestling until he got in the ring with Cage. Christian said that he's the workhorse that will remind us how good he is. Cage said that there's only one spot that interests him, and that is occupied by AEW World Champion Kenny Omega, which is interesting because I read a news report that actually he doesn't want an immediate title shot, but I guess that's how they're booking him.
Right.
Which is so great. Cage said last week he met Kenny for the first time and told Omega he's on borrowed time because, of course, he has to get the title right now.
Right.
Cage said he knows he has to get some wins, but he'll see Kenny down the road. Cage said he's in AEW to cement his legacy for 3 simple words: outwork everyone, which is simply not true.
We feel differently, I think. I like this, and he is, if you listen to real insiders and stuff, he is pretty much speaking the truth. There's people that will say he is more talented in ring than basically anybody they've ever seen.
No.
It puts immense pressure on him, though, I think, to have great matches all the time in AEW, because right now, his entire character is based on his ability to work.
Like, he's good, but I don't think, there's probably a bunch of better people on
I think that his level of success does not match his ability in ring, and I think that's the point. Is that
because that's not what he and Edge got over for at first, right?
Yeah, but he's the guy that makes everybody look good. And if you really listen to a lot of stuff, he is credited by a lot of people as being one of the most talented in ring, despite never being like a huge focus of the company in ring and just sort of helping other wrestlers. Apparently, I thought this was a really good promo. I liked it. I just think it puts a lot of pressure on him. Like, if he needs to deliver just fantastic matches because 100% of his identity right now is
I just don't think
awesome.
it's that true. Like I
think it's more true than you think it is.
I think it's an overstatement.
I don't know. A lot of like insider people are like people that actually wrestled him and worked with him are like talent-wise. There's not many that are better than him. But anyways, I liked it. I thought it was good.
I just don't want him here.
Well, I don't really either, but I have to give him credit. I thought the promo was decent.
So next we got the match between Mox and Kingston and the Good Brothers. Good Brothers jump Kingston during his entrance, and Mox comes out to join the brawl. And we get the weakest magic killer ever on the floor to Mox.
We laughed and laughed.
Oh my god. So Gallows is supposed to kind of go down with the opponent, kind of like
on the
final
floor, brother.
Style. Right. And
not
like
doing that on the
they
floor.
like gently let him down on the ringside mats.
Luke Gallows, man, like I know I give him a hard time, but I think this match really...
I just wrote in brackets, can Gallows get any more lazy?
There's a lot of evidence of what I always say about him from just this match, I thought. But anyways, I'll let you get into that.
Christian can outwork anyone, and anyone can outwork Gallows.
Yeah, unless he really feels like it. If it's a big pay-per-view match where he feels he basically saves it all up and he'll do okay. But on TV, he's not hitting the floor.
He doesn't
outside.
even work for this company.
So there's no way he's doing that. I'll just gently put him down, and anyways.
And Mox has to sell this for a while, so poor Mox.
And I thought it was a pretty good beatdown. Other than that, right? It was they decimated them pretty well, and then there was
lightly drop him on the mat.
World's gentlest. It's like he was tucking him into bed more so than like trying to knock him out. But anyways.
So we started the match with Anderson and Kingston because Mox is taken out. Gallows tags in after Anderson takes control. Corner rib chops by Gallows and corner stomps. Anderson tags back in and foot chokes Kingston. Gallows tags in, hits a kind of that big roundhouse that he does, which is cool.
It actually looked good. The head kick, I thought, looked really solid.
Chops by Kingston. A terrible boot by Gallows to take Mox out again.
Really bad.
Like, can this guy actually do work?
It almost like they cut away because it was pretty weak. Yeah.
Yeah. Terrible wait, no. Diving shoulder block post commercial break by Kingston. Anderson tags in, so that was to Gallows, I guess.
Yep.
Exploder suplex by Kingston. Mox gets a hot tag, it's a flurry, shotgun dropkick into the corner. Corner stomps and a lariat pile driver, but Gallows breaks the pin. He takes a suicide dive from Mox and sells it horribly. Kind of like he's like, oh, and then he kind of like sits down and then lies on his back.
Anything that involves him falling to the ground, right? It's like he's made of glass now, and he can't. And maybe his body is just beaten up, but still.
Then don't wrestle.
Like he eases his way down to the floor generally.
Right, or like finds a way to just get down easy.
Yep.
Spinebuster by Anderson for a 2 count. Gallows gets the tag in. Buddha Doom by the Good Brothers and a back suplex neckbreaker to Kingston as well. Anderson's legal again. Kingston breaks the magic killer. Kingston clotheslines Gallows out of the ring, and Gallows sends Kingston into the barricade and a small package by Mox for the win. Should I cover the post-match?
Yeah, go ahead with the post-match stuff as well.
So Good Brothers attack them. Kenny Omega walks out with a steel chair. Mick sits on the chair and taunts Mox, but Kingston shoves him off and is beaten down. Magic Killer to Kingston, which actually looked good.
An actual Magic Killer, yeah.
Looked good,
yep,
I must say.
It did.
Chairs on Kingston's ankle, and Anderson jumps off the turnbuckles to stomp him. Chair around Mox's neck, and the Bucks come out to stop them. There's lots of arguing. The club offer out too sweet. Bucks reject it, and Mox then swings a chair like a madman and chases away the heels.
Right. I don't know. The match was enjoyable, I thought, actually, despite Gallows being comically lazy, although maybe that was part of my enjoyment, because I literally, we laughed out loud, 3-4 times at his laziness?
That's true.
Like, there were 2 times where he got knocked, quote-unquote, off the apron to the floor, and it's just like him gently rolling and then standing on the floor. Anyways, he's brutal.
Yeah.
I thought Moxley and Anderson worked well together. Kingston didn't get a ton to do. They were selling injuries. So the beatdown before and the beatdown after was a bit much, but I mean, it's fine. It's kind of the way this is going to go. I'm not sure what's taken the Young Bucks so long to give up on Kenny at this point. Like, what further evidence did they need that they just need to break from this guy?
Don Callis is a carny.
I thought, again,
he's carnied Kenny.
This is a tiny little detail, but Eddie Kingston is so good because at the very end of the segment, right, he's been beaten up on the floor and Mox is in the ring, and you can hear Eddie saying to the authorities checking on him, get me in the ring with him, get me in the ring with Mox, right? So still, even though he's like almost on his deathbed, he wants to be placed in the ring with his buddy so that he can support him as much as he can.
Right.
And I thought that was just an amazing touch.
That was awesome.
And that to me is 100% a choice by Eddie Kingston, just knowing what he's doing, right?
Knowing what
those little things he does are so valuable to me. He's fantastic.
Yeah, he knows what he's doing.
See, I thought this match was more enjoyable than it looks like it would be on paper.
You know, after he's a wrestler, they need to use him as like a manager, or like, I don't know, they need to use him as something.
Well, he was an amazing mouthpiece in Impact. We saw him do that
for Hernandez and Homicide.
Right.
I think
we saw that live.
Right.
And he cut a pretty nice promo from a balcony of a spot we were at.
Yeah, or like they need to use him maybe as creative booking, because like I feel like he's one of those guys who has probably a great mind.
He's amazing.
So I think they need to use him, like, he's like Jericho. They need to use him after wrestling. You know what I mean?
He'll have a job in wrestling as long as he wants one, I think.
Mm-hmm. So I thought the match was fine. But man, Gallus is a lazy sack.
Right?
He half-assed so many things, and the match kind of suffered, but also was really funny because of that.
Yeah, it was.
The aftermath the aftermath was whatever. That's interesting to say.
That's strong analysis.
Just whatever. I'm willing to see where the aftermath goes, but I'm not super interested.
But this whole the Bucks like, oh, should we break with Kenny or not? Like, clearly Kenny
he's our best friend.
Right. So. And again, part of it is the Bucks aren't the best actors, so they're not that believable. But I'm interested to see where it goes anyway.
So next we get Sting and Darby Allin. Just when we thought it was over.
Gotta have our weekly Sting. You can't have a week without Sting on the show, right?
Yeah, I think it's part of the law now.
You have 1 million talented wrestlers and only a 2-hour show. I don't care. You're gonna tell me they have 6 hours with Dark and Elevation. I disagree. They have 2 hours of prime TV, and Sting constantly has to get a segment. But anyways, go ahead.
So Sting and the TNT champion Darby Allin are interviewed by Tony Schiavone on the stage for Sting's weekly interview segment.
Yeah.
Allin is limping after Scorpio Sky's attack last week. And Allin says he won the title on November 7th, 2020. He's only defended 3 times, and that is a joke.
It's funny because the crowd starts to cheer like he's bragging about it, right? And he's like, no. It's a bad thing, basically.
Right, and he says he wants to be defending champion week in and week out, which I like. He said he wants to pay tribute to greatest TNT champion of all time, leading to a Brody chant for Brody Lee. Mm-hmm. And I get like why he says that, but technically probably Cody is the best.
It would kills me to say that out loud, but even when he said the greatest TNT champion of all time, my mind immediately went to Cody, right? Not Brody Lee.
Just simply for the fact he's held it twice.
Well, and he held it for a long time, and he was defending it literally every week, right? So
it is the most memorable.
I mean, I get what they're doing to keep Brody's thing alive, and I love it, and I wish it were true.
I think it was just more set up. He calls out anybody from the Dark Order to take the challenge.
Yep.
We'll find that out later.
Right.
And Lance Archer shows up. He's a heel again. He complains about Schiavone's interviewing Sting every week, and I agree with him.
100%.
Archer said it should be his time all the time.
Yep.
Archer called Allin an indie-rific joke and said if Darby likes coffins so much, he's going to put him in one.
I kind of like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Jake Roberts, he says Sting will get what's coming to him.
I forget Jake's first line, but it was really bad. Remember, because Archer said something good, and then Jake's first line was like, ew, that's bad.
Right.
But I forget what it was.
He says, Tony Khan shouldn't play with fire, and Archer will shout up your rear ends.
Yep.
Archer then leaves with Roberts. Team Taz show up, and Taz is about to do a promo, but Cage took the mic.
Interesting choice.
And said he wants to say something. And Cage says that Sting showed up like some hotshot that stuck his nose in their business week after week. And Cage said, after the damn street fight in this business, okay, it was a ring in a warehouse.
I quite enjoyed it, though.
It was good, but that's no street fight.
Yep.
He respects Sting and told Sting that Ricky Starks is wrong because with or without his bat, Sting is still the icon. And I just immediately went, what?
Yeah, didn't quite understand this.
And then Taz, Starks, and the other guys are freaking out at Cage, and Cage leaves on his own, and then everyone else is gone. Thoughts?
I love Darby Allin, but I don't necessarily love him on the mic, if I'm being honest. I don't think he was bad here, but
it's just not like what
I much prefer his silent, weird vignettes that they were doing before.
Right, just make him stand out, kind of.
But surprisingly, I think this might be a couple times in a row now. I thought Archer was pretty good on the mic, and I remember I've been critical of him in the past, so that was cool. I didn't think Jake was as good as Archer on the mic there. And I was wondering at first until it sort of turned the corner where it looks more like Cage, but I was thinking Sting and Archer could have a Cinematch, because you remember in the vignettes in the early COVID where Archer was just having those vignettes where he was killing jobbers at some outdoor ring or somewhere. I thought maybe that could lead to a Cinematch with him.
Oh, yeah. I remember that.
But then it seemed to shift gears and the focus shifted to Cage, so I don't know what they're going with there. Cage isn't great on the mic, right? And that's pretty standard.
I think he also had bad lines.
And also this thing, AEW, where basically every faction has to have some sort of issues within it all at once. So you've got Nightmare Family, the Elite, the Inner Circle, right now Team Taz. It seems to be becoming a little bit of a thing they go back to a bit often.
Damn it, Death Triangle's next.
Right
God
now.
Damn it.
And I get, like, it is a common story, and obviously that's going to happen, but does it need to be happening with so many factions all at the same time, right? So that, other than that, we'll see where it goes. It was interesting that Archer and Cage were the ones that spoke, because that's not normally the case, but
that is interesting.
We'll see what happens.
So let me get this straight. Big bad Brian Cage, big muscly strong man.
Yep.
Now respects an old goth man. Okay, that's not stupid at all.
Even without his bat, he's still the icon.
Wearing a long sleeve shirt. It's not like, I'm not saying he looks old because like old people wear long sleeve shirts, because I don't think a lot of them do.
It just looks like he's not trying as hard as when he wears the
right.
trench
It's
coat.
like I was saying to you, like the trench coat and like
that's
the
Sting.
That's Sting. He looks older, obviously. Like that's going to happen.
Yep.
But he looks like Sting. He looks presentable. Here it looks like this is his casual wear, and he just slapped on face paint.
Yeah, a little bit. I could see that.
It just looks lazy. And for me, it was kind of similar to Karrion Kross wearing like the shirt and the ring gear, just like you're stripping away the character, trying to make him look like a normal person.
I also feel this, like, coming out of that match, like, Cage was the star to me, and he was a monster and looked like a killer.
Now they're making him look stupid.
And now it's like, I really enjoyed beating you up, and I have massive respect, even though I tried to kill you and several... Anyway, I don't know.
You beat us in a warehouse. Good job, man.
It feels weird to me.
Yeah.
But anyways.
Darby was fine, and we'll see who he's facing.
Yeah, I guess.
That'll be cool. Scorpio Sky gets a promo. He basically talks about how being the nice guy got him nowhere, and how he wants to be the face of AEW, but they don't want him. They want people like Cody and Darby Allin. He says he'll do whatever he has to do to get the TNT title, and like he won the ladder match, but that was never supposed to be his moment, which I thought was kind of interesting, and it feels very similar to Swerve right now.
And I quite like this.
No, it was good for sure.
Excuse me. I think he's underutilized on the mic because he's pretty good at, better than I actually maybe thought, because in the indies, I've seen him a ton in the indies. I don't remember how much mic time he got. But anyways, I think his reasons for his heel turn actually make sense to me, right? Like, that's not...
And I think it's like similar to Swerve Scott, but like that's not a bad thing. It makes sense. It works.
Yep, because he's a super talented guy, and again, he's sort of the victim of this roster being a bit bloated for the amount of TV time they have, and they're sort of turning that into his character, and I like it, and I like Scorpio Sky. So, and I do think he needs to continue developing the heel character. It's not just enough that you like turned on Darby Allin sort of thing.
Right,
so
I think this is a step forward in that direction to develop it.
Me too.
I kind of wish they'd maybe done this before.
100% agree. Or in between. Right? Like, he wins the shot and then he does some stuff like
that's
this.
What I mean. Just like at least before the title match at some point. So next we get Rey Fenix versus Angelico, and no entrance for Angelico.
Love both of these
guys.
That
is depriving me of something joyful.
Yeah, because his little dance moves you enjoy, right?
Yeah,
his little ridiculous dancing that somehow works for him. I agree.
And that and,
it is cool.
And the theme is great.
Yeah, you're right.
So holds and counters, pins by Fenix, super kick and a cutter by Fenix for 2, post-commercial break. Navarro death roll submission by Angelico, and Fenix able to get a quick rope break, not very good planning by Angelico. And a victory roll pin for Fenix for 2. Angelico rolls back for a 2 count of his own. We get a pretty cool strike exchange, a crucifix bomb by Fenix, the knee and the Rikishi driver-esque move for the win. I thought it was a nice little match. Nothing much to say because it was pretty short, but I thought it was just a fun little sprint. Yeah,
it was only 7 minutes. I really enjoyed it too. I think the Navarro death roll is cool now that I'm starting to understand it a little more, right? I needed to see it a few times. And that sell of the cutter by Angelico that we went back and watched again, like, amazing, right? He basically came straight down on his head, it looked like. I really enjoyed this match, and Penta, I think, has since tweeted something about like they maybe, or not Penta, sorry, Phoenix, that maybe they should have another match, and like, what do you guys think? And I'm like, heck yes. I just wish it had gotten more time. I almost said this was my match of the night, but that's a ridiculous statement considering what's coming up. So no, it was not. But I did really like the match. And Helico's awesome. I've been a fan of his for quite a while before AEW, and he's just another victim like Scorpio Sky of this stacked roster and limited TV time. Phoenix's finisher is really cool, and this was a fun match. And honestly, it was a relief to me because there was no post-match anything. It was just a match. No factions came out and brawled in the ring. It was over and done with, and that was refreshing because there's been a lot of people coming down and beating people up in the last few weeks, it feels like to me. So I quite like this. Agree. Just a fun, short TV match, right?
Right.
It was good.
So next we got a Miro interview, and Miro says he's not interested in a rematch with Chuck Taylor and Orange Cassidy because he said kind of Chuck had his chance to be his butler again. Yep. And Kip Sabian comes in and says he wants out of that match because they ruined his wedding. He wants payback. And Miro gave Sabian advice. He's saying, like, he doesn't really care about, like, him or Penelope when it comes to the ring. He just wants to win, and it's his destiny to be world champion. Right. He says it's a bad idea to have your wife at ringside, and it didn't end up well for him, which I thought was a great shot at WWE, actually. And I am sometimes critical of all of them taking shots at WWE. I thought there were some good ones. I thought this one was clever, yeah. I thought there were some good ones throughout the show. Yep. Miro said that outside the ring, they're still buddies, and Miro left, but Sabian kind of goes behind his back and said that they accept the match. Right. So I guess this is like the little cracks in their relationship, even right? They are, like, they got issues. So like, Miro's basically... No one's safe. Tag teams aren't safe. Because Miro's basically admitting, like, yeah, we're friends and stuff, but my priority's winning in the ring, and I don't care if it means I take your wife out or whatever, she gets hurt. That's just a byproduct of me winning matches. I thought this was well done by both of them. Even Kip Sabian is... He's pretty comfortable on the mic and as his character. He's pretty sick. So instead of the stupid comedy crap they've been doing, this was serious and more realistic, and I think was probably the best segment they've had. And like I said, I know I complain about bitter wrestlers taking shots at WWE, even if they are well-deserved, because I'm not a big fan of WWE, especially main roster. But I did think Miro's line about having his wife at ringside was pretty funny. Because I think there's the cake thing with Roman Reigns in 2016. Right. Then there's also the whole Lashley. Right. Oh, God, yeah. So this, I kind of like where this is going. It's gotten more serious and less comedy, and I quite like Miro a lot better. It just means it's going to be the end of him and Sabian's relationship, I think, but that's what's best for Miro, I think, at this point. So I thought it was good, actually. Yep. I'm so happy to say that I like things Miro is doing, because man, have I not since he got here. And I like him, so it's nice to say that it's looking better for him. Mm-hmm. So next week's advertisements, we got Nyla Rose versus Tay Conti, the Pinnacles, FTR and Shawn Spears, nice, versus Varsity Blondes and the lesser half of Top Flight, Dante Martin. Oh, I saw the other one in a match on Elevation too. I forget who it was. I don't know why they would split tag team. I don't know why you wouldn't go with someone like, I don't know, Seth Gargis. Your boy. Just kidding. I don't know, like Danny Limelight or that Nick Komoroto guy. Yeah. Like, or Lee Johnson. Just someone like who's a singles. Oh, you know what they should have done? They should beat up the Gun Club and Lee Johnson. Yes, that's what it should have been. Okay. TNT Championship. It's Darby Allin versus a Dark Order person. And so next we get an interview with Alex Marvez talking to Dark Order to figure out who's facing Darby Allin. Brody Lee Jr. comes up saying he'll face Darby Allin. So that was really funny. Yeah, they're including a 9-year-old still, and it's entertaining. It's amazing. Right, and I saw something that, like, people were taking heat for, like, taking advantage of Brody Lee and using him in storylines, but, like, then, like, Amanda Huber kind of came out with, response. Like, that they're just, like, kind of making him feel part of something. They're, like, saving this kid, essentially, right? Like, his mental health is super fragile, and he, like, them including, they're in no way do I think they're exploiting him. They're including him, and they're helping him heal, basically. I think that's really cool. But Evil Uno says that Brody's only 9 years old, so maybe in a decade, which I thought was kind of funny. And it's going to be John Silver, and they're like, he's like the meat man kind of thing. Yeah. They're like chanting meat. And I love how even though they all raise their hand because they want the opportunity, when it's given to Silver, they're all super happy about it, right? Like,
and I don't want any infighting
Yeah, I
in
did
this
kind of
group.
notice that. Yeah, this is the one group like I think, especially because of this character change and like with the whole Brody Lee situation, I think not only is like I think they need to keep this change, but I think it's like it's actually working. It's not like, oh, Brody Lee's dead, so they change it. But I think it's actually like
I think
it's working.
Amazing, and I put in my comments like this segment was adorable, and I love the Dark Order, and I honestly can't think of another faction maybe in history that had the same vibe as these guys, right?
Like they were so different.
And they're like comedy, but it's like super cute, but they're still believable in the ring.
Right, they're still awesome in the ring.
So I enjoy almost everything this group does right now, and I think John Silver's a star.
I think the journey of this group is really amazing to me because they started out as a kick-ass tag team, and then they kind of like. Then they had all the creepers and like they were like
the recruitment videos.
They brought in like there's the recruitment videos which they were okay, and then they brought in like Silver and Reynolds, which was like okay jobbers, and like they had all the creepers and it was like they were teasing the Exalted One, and that was like and then they brought Brody Lee and everyone's like okay cool, and there's like Brody Lee kind of like being like the Vince McMahon, and like kind of just bossing around the Dark Order, and that was cool and all. There was like Anna Jay and all that crap. And it was cool, and now like they've just totally shifted gears after Brody Lee's unfortunate passing. But I think it's still like good. Like they've gone from a good tag team to not great to like great.
I think this faction is super entertaining, and again, it's super unique. I don't see anything like this anywhere else, and I watch far too much wrestling every week. So they have this unique little spot that they've found, and it's perfect for them, and I love it, and I hope they keep doing it.
Right. And then we're going to get Omega versus Matt Sydal next week.
Right.
AEW World Title Eliminator match, which is if Sydal wins, he gets an AEW World Title match. I think the way this match should be used, I was telling you about this, to make it the name make a little more sense, because we got one of these with Joey Janela as well, which is actually good, I remember. It was
a good match, yeah, it was.
But this should be like, say Sydal's ranked not number 5, because then you would have to get a title shot.
Yeah, they're already number 1.
4, like number 4 and like number 3, somewhere in the top 5 rankings, right? Then the Eliminator stipulation makes sense, because if he wins, he gets the title shot, regardless of if he's number 1 or not. But then if he loses, I think he should be booted out of the top 5 and he'd have to work his way back up.
Yeah, so there's a bit of a risk.
He'd be eliminated from the top 5.
I'm hoping that what happens is that these matches kind of become like the code word for it's going to be a really good match, right? Like if it's one of these eliminator matches or whatever, it just means they're going to get a little extra time and a little extra. Yeah. I hope that becomes like the code word for this is a match you should really pay attention to.
I was going to say like they get booted out of the rankings completely, but the men's rankings serve for the world title and TNT title, so.
Right.
And I think then it would actually like the stipulation. I just want to at least make sense.
Right.
Because like it's not like if Sydal loses, he just doesn't get a title shot. It's not like he's really like eliminated that much.
So he has nothing to lose because he's not in the title picture already, right?
Which is why I think it should have the top 5 involved in some
sort
way,
of stakes involved.
But still, it could be a good match.
It could be.
So then we get a backstage thing with the Pinnacle basically just taking over the Inner Circle's locker room.
Yeah, they pull their name off the door and put up the Pinnacle's little. They already had a logo and sign ready to go.
Yeah.
So yeah,
the faction's been ready for a week.
Take over the dressing room.
Yep. And next we get Britt Baker, DMD, versus Thunder Rosa in a lights out unsanctioned
goodness, this match.
And we almost had to call it a day because Justin Roberts said before the match that the show is technically over. So
yep, lights are going out. This match does not exist.
Short Dynamite.
But boy, they're gonna want to make sure that this match exists in the history of their company, I think. So go ahead, talk about it.
So the match starts with Rebel hitting Rosa with the crutch at the back, and then Baker hits a spear on the stage. Baker hits an air raid crash on the stage, and Baker grabs a steel chair, while Hikaru Shida is watching in the backstage area. Baker jabs the chair in the ribs of Rosa. Baker stares at the camera, so when she turns around, Rosa throws a chair at her. Baker goes down with her hands by her head, and then Rosa hits Baker in the back with the steel chair. More steel chair shots, and Rosa tosses Baker over the barricade near the crowd wrestlers. Rosa hits a running attack, Baker moves, and Rosa goes crashing through the chair. Kind of like a cannonball-like move, I think it was.
Yeah, basically.
They're back at ringside, post-commercial break. Baker whipping Rosa into the ramp area. Jade Cargill's in the crowd watching the match. Rosa's crouched by the steps, so Baker steps on her head by the steps. Baker throws lots of steel chairs into the ring, and Rosa's got a cut on her forehead now, which looks kind of cool.
Yeah.
As Baker sends Rosa into the ring. And constantly chanting thunder, mimicking Thunderstruck, and it's kind of like
You
a
were not a fan.
whoa, but it's supposed to be like a kind of
Yes.
like kind of almost a moan, not
Yes.
like a whoa, So they were doing it wrong, and it was almost as annoying as the Jungle Boy thing.
It was annoying. I would agree with you.
Especially because they did it wrong.
Still couldn't take away enough from this match, though.
Yeah. The match returns with them battling on the top turnbuckle. With several chairs piled in the ring, and Baker gives Rosa a big fat superplex onto the chair pile.
And it had to hurt both of them because they both landed flush on this.
Yeah, they
pile
landed
of
real
chairs.
good.
Yeah.
And that gets a 2 count. It was pretty cool. Rebel grabs a ladder from under the ring, and you know the back of her jacket?
Yes.
It
says Rebel, not Reba, or something.
Yeah,
on
which is pretty funny. And she gives that to Baker, and you thought it was kind of interesting. She just keeps grabbing weapons.
And
right?
I honestly, almost all the attention, and I think rightfully so, is going to go to Britt in this match. But Rebel's role was awesome. She did a great job of like just constantly getting stuff from under the ring and putting it in the ring, and she even ends up taking a spot at one point, right? Like, I thought her character work was excellent and added to this match in general.
This ladder would prove costly though, because Rosa hits a bulldog on the ladder for 2. Rosa hits a double knee attack against the turnbuckle. Think like kind of the Andrade thingy.
Exactly.
Rosa traps Baker against the ladder, by the ropes, and like in the corner, hits a dropkick in the ladder, and Baker is bleeding from the forehead, and this starts just a long bleeding for her.
A lot of blood.
And then I loved Reba Rebel. She keeps saying she's bleeding.
Oh yeah, she was great.
Bleeding.
She played an awesome
It
role in
was
this.
really funny. I found that really amusing. There wasn't really a close up of the ladder spot. It was hard to tell if she was actually hit, but
Right.
the ladder didn't seem too close up, but maybe she was. But Rosa was biting the cut, which isn't smart during the
anytime, but especially now.
TJR. It's not smart to do during a pandemic, but I guess that makes sense.
Right.
Baker hits a super kick and a flatliner that sends Rosa face first into the ladder. Baker's face is now pouring with blood.
Very Crimson Mask. Yes.
Kind of like John Moxley Revolution.
Yeah.
Baker does a slow climb to the top turnbuckle, and Rosa comes up with her and hits a Death Valley driver off the turnbuckle onto the ladder, which is set up against the ropes, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Which gets her a 2 count. Rosa sets up a chair in the seated position, which sets up an obvious spot with Baker hitting a DDT onto the chair. Baker hits a curb stomp onto a chair that was in the ring, and Baker had an evil grin on her face as blood is everywhere on her face.
Her heel facial expressions are unbelievable. They add so much, and she's so good. She's so believable. Sorry, go ahead.
Rebel hands Baker her glove, and Rebel hands Baker a bag. And what's
they
in the
speculate
bag?
on what's in the bag.
What is always in a bag in a no DQ match?
What could it possibly be?
Oh, what did you say? A baby snake?
Right, it's Damien's baby.
It's Damien Jr. No, it's obviously thumbtacks, and not only, but like a lot of thumbtacks.
And they zoom in. Those are legit thumbtacks, right? You could see that they were pointy and sharp.
And I just usually there's thumbtacks, but this was like a lot of thumbtacks. Baker goes for the swinging neck breaker. Rosa counters in. Rebel is in with the crutch, but Rosa hits Rebel in the head with the crutch. Rosa hits a dropkick on Rebel, knock Rebel off the apron through the table that was set up on the floor, which was set up earlier. Rosa escapes move by Baker and gives Baker a big powerbomb onto the thumbtack. She took it
crazy
like a champ. Crowd is notably shocked.
Yes, it was pretty shocking.
As Baker's back goes into the thumbtacks and pins her right away for 2. Crowd is chanting, "This is awesome," which is...
They're not wrong.
Yeah, and like I said, that was a lot of thumbtacks, and she went right into it. I don't know why anyone would ever do that, but she is certified insane.
Yep.
Baker comes back with the lockjaw attempt, but then Rosa counters by rolling Baker into the thumbtacks again, because as if it wasn't crazy enough. And Baker's obviously a bloody mess. Baker delivers a super kick to rock Rosa a bit, but Rosa goes to the apron. Baker falls, and there's another table on the floor, and Baker is picked up for the Fire Thunder driver through the table, and Rosa covers Baker for the win.
My God, I love this match. This is in my front runner for match of the year right now, I think. I don't know. I'd have to think about what else I've seen, and I know it's only March, but my goodness, this match was fantastic.
When you got a contender, you got a contender.
I loved it. Britt Baker is an absolute beast, and she's going to get most of the attention. Not that Thunder Rosa didn't do a great job either, but Britt was a megastar here. This match had a really good pace to it. You got really good wrestling moves. You got multiple just insane spots, tons of blood. These two gave it their all and showed that they really deserve this first ever women's match main event. I would literally watch this match again. And I don't say that much about many matches. Like, I'll probably watch this match again this year at some point. I highly recommend it to anyone, as long as you don't mind blood and gore. And that's the thing. I'm not even like a hardcore match fan. Like, I generally, some of them are really well done, but I find a lot are just lazy and it's an excuse to use weapons and plunder. This match was awesome. Reba's involvement was excellent. She deserves credit. She added to this match quite a bit. Again, fantastic match. One of my favorites from 2021. Significantly better than any match in this women's division, in my opinion. Significantly better. And it's nowhere near being for the belt. This match was amazing. If you haven't seen it, go out and see it. Britt Baker is a star, and this was maybe the star-making performance for me for her. I love the bitterness, the length of this feud. And if this is how this is how you end a feud, right? The culmination of this.
Although it's they need a tiebreaker.
Maybe, I guess. But this was just a fantastic match. I loved it. What did you think?
Britt Baker's officially insane. She bled profusely and took some crazy bumps. She is a boss. I think the Queen of Hardcore nickname that she's been given may be justified.
It was crazy.
It did make for a great match and a great win for Rosa, though. We need a tiebreaker, but what could they do to outdo that?
Right.
Great match and for sure main event worthy.
Yeah, I agree.
A smart choice. I
Even
know we were skeptical going in.
Apparently, the ratings dipped a bit for that, which is unfortunate.
Idiots.
But yeah, they did. They're gonna go back and see it now. I betcha.
Yeah,
because it was amazing.
So overall thoughts on the
show? I struggled with rating this show.
Me too.
Because several of the matches seemed to end just as they were getting started, like Cody Penta, the 10-man tag. I really enjoyed Angelico Phoenix, and I obviously loved the main event. I thought the segments made up for it a bit because they were pretty good, right? The Pinnacle segment was good. The Dark Order bit I loved. The Sabian Miro thing I liked. The Archer promo, his part of it I liked. So I'm maybe being generous just because the main event was so awesome and it was the last thing in my mind, but I'm giving the show a B+, which is maybe generous, but I really enjoyed certain things on here. What did you think?
Mm-hmm. So I thought the opener was pretty good, but was a little sudden, and also the finish was oh my god stupid. And then I also thought Cargill also looked fine in her squash. The multi-man tag, in the other tag match we got with Mox and Kingston was fine. I didn't love either of them too much, but whatever. The Pinnacles promo was one of my highlights for me. I think that was really good. And Phoenix and Angelico was a nice little TV sprint.
Yep.
Sting and Darby segment was fine, and Sting didn't actually speak, so that's good. Scorpio Sky had a decent promo, as well as Miro and Sabian. They were pretty good. Like you said, promos were really good here. Christian's promo was fine.
Oh, I
don't
like that
really
too,
love
right?
his gimmick. I don't like.
Yeah.
I get he might be a good worker, but I don't think he's.
In a company full of amazing workers, it's hard to come in and say you outwork everyone.
That's why I feel like it's kind of lying to me.
That is very fair.
Maybe you can prove it to me, but face value, I feel like in WWE, I think you could say that because you could say that.
Or if he's walking into Impact again, right?
Right.
But you're talking about Kenny Omega and Moxley and
Kenny
Penta
Omega, the Young Bucks,
Phoenix,
right? Like you got all these guys who are
That's
fresh.
fair.
They're younger. They're they wrestled a new kind of style, and I just don't think that's really him.
That's fair.
But I think there might be some merit to it, a bit. I don't think you can outwork anyone or everyone, but probably outwork a good chunk of the roster.
Unless it was a heel gimmick, right? But it's not.
It doesn't seem like that, right? He's going after Omega. He's not a heel.
He's coming out sincerely saying he's the best worker.
Which
tough sell.
That feels Cody to me. He's hey, I'm a face, I'm nice, but like I'm better than you, and I'm the best, and I'm
But he won't get to book himself like Cody does.
Right, that's true. And the main event was the highlight, picked up the show a bit for me, and I also gave it a B plus.
Oh, nice.
We did not speak.
And if you like before that main event, I'm probably leaning towards like a B minus, right? But that main event was just
and I think that and the
unreal.
Pinnacle were highlights for me.
I would probably agree with that. So yeah, it was more of a like strong segment show than a strong in-ring show, but a couple matches good enough to keep it up to a B plus. So I like the show, and you should go see the main event 100% if you haven't already.
And the Pinnacle.
I'll probably watch it again. All right, well that wraps up our first foray into the Wednesday Night Wars, and we always transition next into our trivia section.
We actually watched NXT first this week.
We did. Which
if I regret that or not, find out.
Okay, we will. But we're moving into trivia first, and that is going to be our weekly segment called Off the Top of His Head.
Woo.
So we're going back to part 2 from last week, which was trivia mostly courtesy of the Sportster with a few hints sort of added by me. And it is basically WWE using talent to fill roles as extras, right? So it's basically
before they were famous.
Yeah, so future stars before they were famous.
Is there any like of people who weren't in the company? Because I know like MJF has had a role before.
In fact, here's the first one, although that's kind of a hint. So superstar cameos before they made it big in wrestling. These two stars dressed up as DX and got mauled by Miz and Morrison on an episode of WWE ECW. Dang it. You know way too many of these. So my other clues, it was the Young Bucks. The other information I had was one of the two did wrestle a couple enhancement matches for WWE, which was Matt, but neither star has ever been officially signed. And then I said they would go on to become one of the greatest tag teams in wrestling and now are executives for a startup wrestling company. All right, yet another member of the Rosebuds, because there was, 4 last week, I think, in this section. This wrestler wore an old-timey red and white striped bathing suit and a fez, which I don't
Simon Gotch.
Why would you know? You've clearly seen these videos 1,000
times. I know that they're, I remember what he looked like and just old-timey. I just kind of...
So he would go on to be part of a prominent NXT tag team who had less success on the main roster, and they never won the NXT tag championships, right? I don't think.
No, they beat Blake.
Oh, they did.
We literally talked about it. They just take over Brooklyn.
I couldn't remember if we talked about them never winning it or that they actually did win it. So then I was afraid to put it in there. And then I put he was eventually fired from WWE for basically being a jerk. And you mentioned the other day that he now works for MLW, right? That was
he is going to. Right. I don't know if he already does, but he is or has.
So here's one I actually knew. This star appeared at WrestleMania 6, driving Rhythm and Blues to the ring since he owned the pink Cadillac. And
Diamond
you're nodding.
Dallas Page.
Right, Diamond Dallas Page.
Yeah, if you know it, you know I know it, probably.
And my other clues, one was just to troll you. This first one was he was inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame in 2017. And my final clue was Randy Orton stole his finisher.
That's not and most people use cutters, dingbat. Plus, Orton does it better.
I told you, it was just to troll you, and you fell right into it.
Orton does it better. I thought the other one was to troll me.
No, he doesn't, but that's okay.
He does.
This star appeared in 1987.
See, Dallas Page counter curb stomp.
This star appeared in 1987 as a kid who would kiss the $1 Million Man's feet for
Rob
money.
Van Dam.
Oh my goodness, I thought maybe you wouldn't know this one. It was RVD. I put he would go on to become one of the biggest stars on ECW before joining WWE. And then my final clue was he and his girlfriend, wife, recently left Impact Wrestling, and I was thrilled. Because believe it or not, that hint was not from the Sportster. That was from me. All right, so this one's kind of hard because it's a giant group of people. So this large group of stars wore gowns and skull masks as they accompanied Triple H on his way to the ring at WrestleMania 30. Do you know this one?
I think
it's going to be hard to answer, to be honest.
I think I know, but
so
I forgot.
You want the next clue?
Yeah.
They were WWE employees at the time, but not main roster talent. And then my final clue, because it's hard for you to get, I'll give you the final one. It was basically an entire roster almost.
NXT.
Right. So it's hard to get you there, right? So basically almost the entire roster.
I knew it was NXT something.
Including Scott Dawson, Dash Wilder, Simon Gotch, Oney Lorcan, Chad Gable, Blake Murphy, Enzo, Elias, Hideo Itami, and Finn Balor were all in the robes and masks.
I knew there were some of the former NXT champions, but
It's funny. It's a ton of the, it's all, a lot of Triple H entrances and rosebuds in this trivia. All right, so this star...
Triple H has always got to have the big entrance. Right?
This one's cute. This star was captured on camera at 14 years old, crying as she got an autograph from Lita.
Sasha Banks.
No. Hey, we got one you didn't know, folks.
Bayley.
Next clue? Nope. She credits this meeting with pushing her to reach her dreams of becoming a wrestler.
Peyton Royce.
No.
Billie Kay.
No. Ready? The last clue is going to give it to you for sure. So if you want to take any guesses before you know.
Charlotte.
No.
So
think about
Alexa
it.
Bliss.
She was 14 and getting its autographs from Lita. So she would be... Anyways, your last clue. She married a major WWE star who coincidentally dated Lita at one point. And neither are with the company today.
Reba Sky?
No.
Didn't she date Matt Hardy?
I don't know, but that's not the answer.
I don't get it.
So she, the kid that got the autograph, married a major WWE star. That star also dated Lita, who she got the autograph from. And neither she or her husband are with the company anymore. So the 14-year-old kid, who's now an adult, married a major WWE star. This is the most stumped you've ever been. And a major star. A major star crowd still chant for, and people always speculate is returning.
AJ Lee?
Yes.
Oh.
There you go. That's the most you've ever taken to get one. I'm proud of myself now. All right, here's another one. These two stars worked as security guards in 2006, protecting Shane McMahon from Shawn Michaels and Triple
Cesaro?
H. And?
EC3?
Wow, yes, very good. So my other clues were: one is a former United States champion, multiple-time tag champion with Andre the Giant, and Andre the Giant Battle Royal winner. The other floundered in NXT before signing to TNA, where he would win their world title twice and the Grand Championship once. Then the final clue was: one is famous for his swing, and the other annoys me greatly in ROH with his latest character. All right, next one.
Love that.
This one's not hard. This star made a handful of appearances ringside for her father's matches.
Charlotte.
Correct. Most notably, the future women's champion was ringside for her father's retirement match against Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 24.
Charlotte.
Good. Next one. During one of Kurt Angle's invitational segments in 2005, two security guards accompanied the gold medalist to the ring to protect his medals. I'm only looking for one because the other guy I don't think is anybody. The man carrying the awards is a current Raw superstar. You look thoughtful, like you might not know this one.
Apollo Crews.
No. This was the same year that the star was signed to WWE's developmental system, Deep South. So he signed...
Kenny Omega?
No. The last clue is really easy. So do you want to take a couple more guesses?
CM Punk.
No. So currently on TV, I'll say that.
Oh.
Currently on Raw.
That's my bad then.
I won't give you the major
Seth
clue.
Rollins.
Nope. So he heads up the Hurt Business.
MVP?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
I didn't know that one either. Couple more.
Could have said Bobby
These
Lashley.
Canadians made appearances on Velocity in 2003. I added the Canadian part. No guess? We're stumping you this week. I love it. All right, next clue. Both would sign with TNA later that year, where they gained a ton of notoriety before jumping ship to NXT in 2016. Still nothing. Should put the Jeopardy music underneath this. Canadians, TNA mainstays. One is still in WWE, and the other plays a cult leader type character on Impact. Canadian cult leader on Impact.
Eric Young?
Who?
Eric Young?
Eric Young and?
Bobby Roode?
Correct.
Were they a team?
I don't know if they were a team, but I'm just saying they made appearances on Velocity. I didn't say anything about a team. Could have been separate matches.
Okay.
All right.
I was thinking team.
I got three more, and the last one's really easy. In 1997, a full 2 years before he would make his pro wrestling debut, this star was attending a show as a fan in the front row.
Kurt Angle?
No. He got a little overzealous during the match between the Legion of Doom and Ahmed Johnson and the Nation of Domination. When the action spilled out to ringside, this man took some liberties with Road Warrior Hawk and threw some punches at him. No guess?
I have no idea.
He was signed by WWE at one point, but was given a lame gimmick, that's me.
Mark Henry?
And did not last long.
Mark Henry?
No, he lasted long.
No, like, I mean, in the gimmick.
No, the wrestler didn't last long.
I have no idea then.
He currently wrestles for AEW and is mostly part of the Dark Order. Who doesn't belong in Dark Order? Who do we not like in Dark Order? Colt Cabana is correct.
Boom, boom.
Like many folks making their living on the independent scene, this man was able to pick up some extra work in WWE. On the August...
Are we still talking about Colt Cabana?
No, sorry, different. Okay. Next one. On the August 16th, 2013 episode of SmackDown, during an interview with Ryback, this, here's the key, future ref was a plant who was bullied by the big guy.
Brad Maddox?
No. At that time, he was actually a well-known independent hardcore wrestler. What refs do you know?
Mike Chioda.
Nope. He is still employed by WWE as a ref and is recognizable for being overly tan. I think he's in NXT mostly.
Oh, that one guy.
Could be wrong.
That guy.
That's
I don't know
the guy.
His name.
Drake Wirtz.
Let me Google and see if I was thinking of the right guy.
Okay. Final one.
How do you spell Wirtz?
Wuertz. This star was seen in various WWE merchandise catalogs.
Yes, I was thinking of him.
Good. So last one, sorry. Seen in various WWF merchandise catalogs, flaunting new T-shirts for Hulk Hogan, the Rockers, and even Matilda, the British Bulldog's canine mascot. So T-shirt model decades ago.
Stephanie McMahon.
Correct. Is that a guess?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're
right.
Well,
I just knew she used to like work in T-shirts or whatever, so that's literally the only reason I guessed that.
So the last two clues were trading in T-shirts for business suits. She came a long way from shilling merch to being one of the most powerful figures in all of professional wrestling.
Yeah, I knew she was involved in T-shirts in some capacity.
So you did very well, but I like that there was a couple you didn't know, just to prove to people that this is not rigged, people. He has no idea what the questions are. Usually the topics. This week you knew the topic because you knew I was carrying on, but... Generally, he has absolutely no idea what these will be about.
I don't prepare. I didn't even prepare anything.
He did not.
I don't need to.
Very well done. That was fun. And we will head back now to our Wednesday Night War review and take a look at this week's episode of NXT. So the show starts with a recap of last week's championship match, including the Karrion Kross appearance at the end where he sort of just appeared behind Finn Balor. And Balor, remember, we liked that he acknowledged him without even really having seen him there. So Balor is making his way to the ring to speak. He says he is still the NXT champion, and he lists his recent victories, I think the last 3 or 4 wins that he's had.
Kross, everyone he defended the title against.
Right. He says Kross is the only one that remains, and Balor has been waiting for him, and that Kross's time is up. And then obviously Kross and Scarlett come out. And my first thing, we talked about it a bit earlier in this episode, but why does Kross look so weird in a t-shirt, right? Like,
and he's wearing his ring gear too, which he doesn't usually. Or like he might, but
it's like he's half a normal person and half a ref. I don't know. There's something about him where he shouldn't look like a normal person to me, and wearing it just coming out in a t-shirt didn't work for me. But anyways, that's just me, I guess. He says that this never would have happened until they settled their separate affairs.
Although he didn't have an affair, that like he didn't really have
recovered from an injury. I don't know.
No, but like I mean the whole Escobar jazz.
Yeah,
was unnecessary.
Well,
I wouldn't call that much of an affair. I would call that a unnecessary detour.
But now that they are finished what they had to deal with, it'll just be them one-on-one. The fans need to know who the real champion is, and so does the entire world. Balor kind of fires back and says everyone wants to be the champion until the champion walks into the room. He goes on to say that Kross walks and talks like a champion, but doesn't have what it takes to beat Finn. Kross then promises to choke Balor out at Stand and Deliver. Balor says that Kross will know what it's like to choke in the main event, sort of a play on the whole choke idea. Scarlett then speaks and says that she saw this in the cards and that both will be draped in gold. And then Lorcan and Burch interrupt, and I was a bit nervous. I thought this meant that they were going to put the tag belts on these two guys, but we'll see what happens. They say that Balor should be defending against Dunne, and that Dunne can beat Balor and Kross.
It's weird, because we didn't really love Pete Dunne talking at first, but then I'm thinking he's better than both of these guys talking.
Certainly a lot better than
And them kind of being hype men is just really, like,
weird.
These are your tag champions, they're hyping a main event guy.
And your hype men can't really talk, really, so they're not the best hype men in the world.
A good hype man is like Leo Rush.
Right. Yeah. Scarlett speaks about moments in time like this, and she suggests they being Lorcan and Birch, put their tag titles on the line against Cross and Balor. So this is where I start to get nervous, right? This WWE idea that singles wrestlers are greater than tag teams, and my fear was, oh my god, they're switching plans on the fly, something's happened, and they're going to put the belts on these guys.
Both draped in gold.
And I'm going to be annoyed. Scarlett heads to the floor, sort of flirts with Lorcan and Birch to get them to agree to the match, implying that they'd be cowards if they refuse, so of course they accept. Scarlett says every moment happens for a reason and that Balor can't change fate. And what did you think about this opening segment?
I don't really like that they're going to do this crap that they do on the main roster on NXT. Got an upcoming title match, make them tag team champions. So great. I thought Balor and Cross were pretty good. I didn't really love Scarlett here.
Yeah.
Or so the majority I did not like it, but I liked the beginning of it.
That's funny because it's like you looked at my notes, but I know you have no idea what I thought. But here's what I thought. I was fine with it as long as it was just Balor and Cross going back and forth. I thought that part was pretty good.
I feel like they could have a good promo battle anytime.
And I actually think Finn Balor is a much better promo now than he was on the main roster or even when he first came back here. I think he's really good now. But then, I think what you're saying,
he's found his style, I think,
yeah,
right?
It just kept going, right? I didn't think Scarlett was particularly good. Only Lorcan was significantly worse than that. The tag champs, to me, look like idiots because they basically fell for this so easily, right? And are now putting their...
Right.
Because she came down and, touched your shoulder and was a little bit flirty, so now they're putting their titles on the line.
And I'm just thinking that, the series Balor reminds me of Devitt in Japan. So, I feel like you could even just do the demon paint as, war paint, you know what I mean?
Yes.
I can't remember who did that, something like that, but, I don't know, just, because, Devitt did that at big events. I don't see why he couldn't do it here, and I miss it.
My question for you, do you think we get the Fiend at Stand and Deliver?
That'd be fun. I would like that.
I think so, too. The Fiend comes because he needs to beat Cross. He actually beats Cross because the Fiend doesn't lose, and Cross, bye-bye to main roster. That would be my... Or, sorry, the Fiend. The Demon, sorry.
Oh, yes.
Sorry. So, he's the Demon because it kind of puts crossover, right? Because he needs to be the Demon for his toughest
and I think
opponents.
He's not exactly a heel, so it's not like he can't do the Demon.
And then Demon wins and Cross is Gonzo.
Because the Demon is awesome. And then I can get cool figures of it.
But anyways, so... This felt too main roster for my taste. It should have ended after the first few minutes, and too many people said too much, and I think you kind of felt the same way.
Yes. So
the commentary team then briefly hype Stand and Deliver before we head to our first match.
I'm not going to lie, it's not my favorite name.
No, me either. And the first match is, although takeovers have had some really bad names in the past, so it's nothing new really for them.
I like them. I wish they would do another In Your House.
So the first match we get is Dexter Lumis versus Austin Theory, and it starts with Theory backstage talking to Gargano on his tablet, and this is where I started to get suspicious, and I did confirm it. There was another sort of outbreak in the performance of COVID, obviously, in the performance center. The story goes
Shocker,
that there were
another COVID outbreak.
There were some people in doing some work or something, and some of them weren't wearing masks. Anyways,
it
started to become clear that a whole bunch of NXT talent were missing from this show, which may have hurt it a little bit. So this is where I started to wonder. So he's talking to Gargano on a tablet, and they're at home, and the reason they explain it is that Theory needs to do this on his own, but Johnny did send him some new ring gear at least.
It matches his gear from the Kushida match.
And in fact, Candice and Johnny were two of the people that were involved in the COVID possibilities, so that's why they weren't there.
Makes sense. I wonder if Indy Hartwell's got that.
I think she was one of the ones as well that would have been there otherwise.
I know she wasn't there because she could at least be there because she's got a thing with Lumis as well, right?
Right. Yeah, you would think she would have been there if she could have been. You're right, because she's in love with him or has a crush on him or whatever.
An idiot.
The story is. So outside the ring right away with Theory slamming Lumis's head against the announce table as we head to commercials 1 minute in. This is a thing that's happening now again, right? The match starts and we're off to commercial. Yeah. How about you just drag out their entrances? Or I don't know. Anyways, it annoys me. Fall away slam by Theory for a 2 count, and Lumis applies the silence suddenly, and Theory gets to the ropes. Theory gets caught midair and is given a spine buster by Lumis. Uppercut and a corner clothesline and a bulldog by Lumis in succession. Suplex, kip up, leaping leg drop by Lumis for 2. So it's one of his classic little flurries in between all of his sort of slow plotting offense.
I wouldn't call it classic. I would call it routine.
Yes, fair enough. That's probably a better word. Suplex escaped by Theory, but an uppercut and slingshot suplex by Loomis. Loomis does his slithering around the ring, but Theory hits him with a running forearm, which I actually liked, right? Like, stop letting this guy slither and looking scared. Just run at him and hit him in the face. And that's what Theory did, which makes sense to me. Brainbuster to the knee by Theory for 2. Strike exchange and a clothesline by Loomis, and Theory is down. Loomis offers to help Theory up, and Theory reluctantly accepts. And then as they're standing, Theory leans in and gives Loomis a hug. Yeah. And Loomis sort of no-sells the hug and then hooks in the silence, which I thought was cool. And
I love this because, like, so after he's like, I knew you were good, or like, I knew you wouldn't say that. And then after he gets his silence, I knew you were evil. Right. Which I thought was really funny.
Yeah, that was kind of funny.
He's just like, I knew it.
So we get a big side effect immediately into the silence. I actually like that transition, right? Because it's an easy transition from the side effect to the silence. So that makes sense to me.
And there's some impact to it.
Yep. And Theory is out. So Theory basically passes out to the silence. Loomis is the winner. What did you think of the match?
I thought Theory is funny, but I don't really like Theory anymore because he acts kind of childish. I know that's like the direction that the way is supposed to be, but he went from like the kind of like cocky, arrogant young star, which I thought was really suiting him.
Me too.
And then now he's not great, and it sounds like because it's Dexter Loomis, but it is and it isn't, because I don't like his matches because he does the same thing. It's not even that good because it's like he's slow and plotting, then a burst of offense, and it's not even like that's unique. It's the same thing every time. It's just like he slithers a bit, he chokes him out at the end. It's just like it's the same every time, and I don't really get behind it.
Yeah, I think for you, the slow plotting part isn't, and again, I think for you, not to speak for you, but when he does lay in the flurries, it needs to be different flurries, right?
Right, and I think
the payoff isn't worth waiting for you, basically.
Right, and the slow plotting stuff, like, I get there's a place for that, but I think maybe, like, you don't need to do that every match, or you don't need to do it as much every match, like, I don't know, he just needs to...
I think that's a reasonable criticism.
Not do the same thing all the time.
I thought the match was pretty good. I don't think it was a masterclass in ring psychology, but there was some nice offense by each of the guys. Loomis as a babyface is still a little bit hard to completely understand, right? I think that's fair.
Right, and he's just like, he's tricking them. It's like, he's like, oh yeah, hug, oh, get choked.
But he's still sort of a silent stalker.
We're supposed to root for him?
Right. Theory's character needs something. I agree with what you're saying. The Way has done nothing for me lately.
He needs to go back to what he does. I think honestly, the Way is like it's. I feel like it's kind of hurt Theory. It's kind of hurting.
It's hurt Gargano. I feel like,
and the North American title more so. But also Gargano, yes, and Indy Hartwell and Candice LeRae are just kind of indifferent.
I think it's helping Indy the most just because it's getting her on TV more than I think she probably would have.
But I think for the most part, like, her and Candice are kind of indifferent. Like, I feel like they would be fine without this. Like, I think Gargano and LeRae are a good duo, but like, I think Theory's good enough on his own.
Yep.
And I think Indy Hartwell, like, I do like her and LeRae as a team, so it's kind of like tough. Like, I would, I'm not really sure.
I think Theory's good in the ring and he has a bright future, but this character is just okay at best. Like, it doesn't thrill me, I guess. We can get Mackenzie Mitchell backstage to talk about the tag title match coming up tonight, but she's interrupted by Tommaso Ciampa, who he has to explain because Thatcher's one of the ones that was supposed to be there and isn't as well, so he has to explain that Thatcher...
Okay, so like I actually thought he was going to interrupt the match and like do something.
I was a bit confused by this, but then it makes sense.
So I think maybe I'll talk about that later.
Okay, so he says Thatcher isn't here and that Imperium probably took him out. So then he says that Mackenzie should try and find Bartel and Eichner and ask them if they've seen Wolf lately, sort of implying that Ciampa has
I bet Wolf is probably just out.
So Ciampa took Wolf out to get back at them for taking out Thatcher is the story. It's all a cover for people being away. He then tells her to let them know that one of them will be left standing pretty soon. He's going to take the other one out and leave one. So I had to guess he's talking about Imperium. I'm somewhat confused. And then obviously now I know that Thatcher was part of the COVID crew and this segment had to sort of be changed. So,
COVID crew.
Right. So I don't know. It was fine. It's clearly them having to change on the fly. It wasn't bad, but it was kind of like, what?
It was fine.
It's Ciampa telling us all of this stuff has happened, right? That we never saw. So to me, that's never the best method of developing a story is by saying, this happened, this happened, this happened. And I'm telling you, but never showing. Show me, don't tell me, people. Anyways. We get Adam Cole in the ring with a microphone after a commercial break.
That's always good.
Cole says O'Reilly is jealous of him. Cole wasn't mad at O'Reilly before, but it's over now. Cole isn't leaving until he gets O'Reilly in the ring. Regal walks out on the stage and says O'Reilly is banned from the building since he isn't clear to compete. So I don't think O'Reilly was actually one of the ones. I don't think he was actually going to be there regardless.
And even if he was, there's a storyline for this actually, like the Brainbuster and then also the Brawl last week.
So O'Reilly appears on, and also it makes sense because Regal's like, there's no way these guys won't fight each other. So the only thing I can do is to ban one of them from the building.
Ban the one that's probably
it's such a bitter for you.
And ban the one that's more hurt as well.
So O'Reilly appears on the video screen and says he isn't there for Cole's safety, basically implying because I would just kill you if I were there. O'Reilly says he won't rest until he ends Cole. Cole says he's going to find O'Reilly before O'Reilly can find him. Your thoughts on this?
I liked it. Building a feud, whether O'Reilly was actually able to be there or not.
Right.
But it's good. I think, like I said, an Adam Cole promo, I'm never going to be mad that he's getting a promo. So like, it was good. I know we're getting a segment for them next week, so that's going to be interesting. Yeah,
I thought this was solid, but not amazing. It's like you said, it's to further build to this match and to fill some time on this show, I guess. And yeah, it was just, my question was Kyle supposed to be there or not? But I kind of feel like probably not, because this storyline actually makes sense and doesn't feel like they just switched it on the fly.
Right.
We then get a recap of the Women's Tag Championship match from last week that we loved so much. No, we didn't. I was being sarcastic. We didn't mind the match, but we weren't happy with the outcome, definitely,
didn't
right?
Love the match.
So then we get Mackenzie is speaking to Ember and Shotzi. They're obviously happy about winning last week, and Shotzi shared the moment with her dad.
I didn't ask.
They're interrupted by the Robert Stone brand, who, if you're not up on it, is Aaliyah and Jessie Kamea. What a strong powerhouse team that is. So they interrupt and challenge the champs, saying that the titles will look better around their waists. Shotzi
said who?
And then that's sort of the end of the segment. I thought Shotzi and Ember weren't very good here on the mic, which isn't a surprise. And as a bonus, it sets up a match that I have no interest in. And as a further bonus, it's a match where the challengers have no chance of winning. So I wasn't a huge fan of this segment.
Against the crummy champions.
Your thoughts? I'm sure you feel similarly.
Bad, no like, don't want, thanks. I don't like any of these people. Don't care about any of these people.
And you know what's going to happen in the match, right?
So... And I know Shotzi's going to win. That's terrible.
Yep. All right, so moving on. Breezango.
Woohoo! I love this.
Versus Legado del Fantasma.
Oh, and you made me note, first thing Vic Joseph says is Breezango's all business.
Oh my god, yeah. So please write that down because I'm doing something else and it infuriates me. Again, just tell us, right? Don't show us or ever do a vignette or ever any sort of character development. You told us they're serious now, so we have to believe you.
We'll take his word for it, right?
Even though they've been coming out in like space suits and helmets and they're always dressed up in crazy costumes, they're just serious killing wrestling machines now. Right. Anyways, Fandango is in control of Mendoza early, and then Breeze is in after a brief double team. He's in control. Mendoza escapes and tags in Wild, who hits a low crossbody before Breeze gets his boots up on a corner attack. Fandango's back in with a drop kick. Jawbreaker by Wild, and he dances a little bit before applying a headlock. Mendoza's back in, but Fandango hits a front suplex off the top rope before getting kicked to the floor as we head to commercial. Back from commercial with Mendoza whipped into the barricade by Fandango, who tags out. Breeze comes in, he's on fire, and he dominates Wild and then Mendoza. We get a single leg crab by Breeze to Wild and a slingshot over the ropes. Super kick to Wild and Mendoza breaks up the pin. Fandango is down outside the ring. We get a head kick, leg sweep combo. That's their finishing move. Does it have a name? It's
called Legado? I don't know.
That's a lame name if it is. And they pick up the win.
Then I thought, Legado was Escobar's thingy. Right. So I honestly don't know.
Me either. So Legado picks up the win here. Escobar then sort of asks where Devlin is, and Devlin's music hits. Cue the
theme. I was like, what does his theme sound like again?
Boom,
and then it starts playing. I was like, yes.
And he walks to the ring, and we in FNS Wrestling are pretty excited because watching Devlin wrestle is fun. So he says that Escobar has been saying things for a year, and Devlin is here to show him what a real champ looks like, and he didn't need to cheap shot Escobar to do it. Devlin says that the ace is back, and Escobar can throw his title in the trash now that Devlin is here. Escobar responds by saying he's redefined what it means to be a cruiserweight.
That's
debatable
aggressive
statement, even though I love him. And he's proven it time after time. Devlin still has the title because everybody has forgotten about him. I sort of like that line, right? That the only reason you still have the title is because people forgot you exist and even have it.
Because he's overseas and they couldn't go get it.
Which I liked. Yeah, but that's you leave that part out as a heel, right?
I know.
At Stand and Deliver, they'll settle it once and for all. Devlin attacks immediately and hits the Devlin side.
Yeah, he headbutts him and then hits the Devlin side. You're like, what did he hit? Back suplex? I'm just like, bruh, Devlin side.
And then leaves. What did you think about this?
The match was like nothing to me. I don't have much to say.
Yeah, I agree.
When writing it, I noticed that literally devil and like without the eye, but then there's like it literally says inside, so it's literally devil inside.
Yes, you never really noticed.
I know, like that's how it's supposed to sound, but like I never like spelled it out like that. So like it literally looks like that too, but it was cool. He just like headbutts him and then hits him with the move. But I thought that was a really nice back and forth thereafter, and I want to see this match so much.
Me too. The pay-per-view shaping up, there's some definite... I don't know if they'll have enough to fill 2 nights to interest me, but there's definitely some stuff I want to see.
Well, I think if they do the thing that we're talking about, Adam Cole and O'Reilly, and then winner faces Balor or Cross the second night, then that's good. And also we get Demon Balor at some point. That would be very nice. That would be pleasing to me.
So I thought there was nothing wrong with this match, but maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong. I feel like we've seen it many, many times.
Oh, yeah, we did.
Okay,
no,
good.
for sure.
Sometimes it's like, and I'll say that and you'll be like, no, they've never faced each other.
I can't say specifically, but no, they did.
For a
while, they're like basically 2 of the only prominent tag teams.
And I feel like we've seen them a bunch. So neither of these teams is very prominent right now either. So, I mean, the match was fine. It was just to get to the post-match stuff, I feel like, I feel like
the match wasn't necessary here. And then these guys could maybe had a longer promo battle, which I think would have been better.
Yeah, I thought the interaction between Devlin and Escobar was good. I like this idea. I always like the idea of the interim champion, quote unquote, and then the returning guy having a problem with that. I think that's just a logical storyline.
I remember the one promo that Devlin had, and it was like how the tournament slowly shifted from interim champion to champion.
Yep, and again, the heel has a point here, right? In my opinion, which sometimes isn't the best, but
aren't they both heels?
He has, yeah, that's true. Sorry, the UK heel has a point. One of the heels has a point here. So then Cole, we learn, is on the hunt for O'Reilly, and he's promising to find him. And then this is where I checked the clock as we're watching it and wrote, well, this isn't even halfway over yet. It's already dragging a bit for me, this episode. And then we get sort of a little bit of a quick preview of Sarray, the Warrior of the Sun. Sarray, the Warrior of the Sun.
In the office, they think it's Sabre, but then it's Saber. And then so here she used to be Sari, and I was like, oh, Sari, and no, Sarray.
So she's on her way to NXT, and honestly,
what was she again? The whatever of the Sun?
The Warrior of the Sun, which I think they've since trademarked.
I think that's a cool name.
Yeah,
nickname.
I'm a giant wrestling nerd. I've never heard of her, but I'm generally all for new talent.
Swear, she better not be another Kushida. If she's another Kushida, then that's not problems. Good.
But I'm open to it. I always like to see new talent.
We'll give her a chance. I want to see a good showing from her. But like, if she's just Kushida or Toni Storm, where like she's just endlessly like, oh, she's awesome. They're awesome. They're awesome.
Just trust us. They're awesome.
And they're not awesome. Then I don't have time for that again.
So I'm not even going to look her up or anything, because sometimes I do that. I'm just going to go in knowing nothing and make up my mind from there, just for curiosity's sake. We then get some funny photos of Grimes on vacation. And my understanding is remember that was my idea, is that yes, in fact, he was like
underwater and like he was on the beach, and I think what was the other one? Was
he jet skiing or something?
Yeah.
Something like that. Anyways, pictures of him using his money to enjoy himself.
Horribly photoshopped,
right? Bad photoshops.
Which was really funny, because like they photoshopped his head so bad when he was sitting in the lawn chair or whatever on the beach, which I think is really funny. He didn't even bother to actually go places.
Yeah, comically bad.
And they even left his hat on in the picture underwater. Like, I laughed so hard at this. It was really funny.
It was funny. And if this was them sort of last minute having to make a change, then good for them, because it was funny. We then get Zoe Stark, who they've really been putting a lot of focus on, versus Dakota Kai, who I love. So I was kind of looking forward to this match. I like the subtle thing as Kai is sort of entering the ring. She acts like she doesn't know who Zoe Stark is, basically, which I thought was a nice little subtle heel move. We get an extended tie-up, and they roll around on the mat for a bit. They're back up standing.
That sounds funny.
They're back up standing, still tied up for some holds and counters come next. Kip-ups and bridges out among the escapes between the two. We finally get some rope running and 2 arm drags by Stark. Big clothesline for 2 by Stark. We get mounted elbows by Kai before a hard Irish whip and a running kick for 2. Kai then applies body scissors on the mat to Stark. Kai's outside with a crossbody over the top to by Stark. We're back from the commercial with Kai is in control now with more mounted strikes in the ring. A pump kick is avoided by Stark and a double clothesline, and both women are down briefly. 2 clothesline and 3 kicks by Stark, German suplex and a running kick by Stark for a 2 count. Kai hits a drop toe hold into the ropes, and she spins Stark on the apron and kicks her in the head from the floor, as seems to be becoming one of her signature moves now. Battle on the apron. Stark is up top and gets caught by a super kick and a running kick in the corner for a 2 count. We get pin attempts and counters before a big knee and a roll a roll-out slam that in my notes is a roll trout slam. So that, I don't know what that would look like. By Stark, who goes up top but gets caught by Kai, who hits the go-to kick for the 3 count. What did you think of this match?
I thought the match was pretty good, and Stark manages to look good in defeat again, which I think is interesting. WWE is not being WWE here, I feel like.
In what way?
And having her win a squash match debut, which is normal, and lose 2 matches in a row.
But look good.
To top stars. It is a good tactic, and I'm just surprised that they are actually doing it.
Yeah.
If she continues to look strong like she did here, but I think they need to also sprinkle in wins against people like Aaliyah.
Yeah.
And like lower.
Jessica Kamea.
Yes, and like just wins against lower card talent, but then also like losing here. And then there's Aftermath, I think.
Yep. So I enjoyed this match. Stark continues to impress me. She has some really good-looking offense, and she's looked good with Dakota Kai and Io Shirai in the past 2 weeks. I like that Kai gets a nice win here, and Stark looks strong in defeat, so I thought I liked that match overall. But then, yes, Io Shirai's music hits, and she heads to the ring. She walks right by Dakota Kai like she's not even there, which I liked, and shoves a contract into Gonzalez's chest and tells her to sign it, right? What did you think of that?
Thought that was cool, and I think we both laughed at the height comparison.
It looks amazing because Io is a small woman, we'll say, and Gonzalez is big. But again, there's something about Io's presence, right? Like, I loved it. She did very little and said even less, but she looked cool doing it. She disregarded Dakota Kai without a word, which I liked, and then delivered her message clearly to Gonzalez, it's Gonz in my notes, while barely saying anything, right? I liked the match, and I liked the segment better than anything else so far on this episode, for sure. Mm-hmm. Yep. Mackenzie is then seen asking Regal about Jordan Devlin when they're interrupted and told that something has happened to Adam Cole.
Yeah, I wrote something has happened to Adam Cole, and then I wrote that is not very nice.
It's probably in the parking lot because it's the unsafest place in the world.
Yeah.
Regal rushes away as we head to commercial. Then we get the grizzled young veterans speaking about MSK. They will not forgive them for what they did to Gibson's wrist, and there will be a receipt, and MSK
even though
will not like it.
MSK is the ones with one of them out with a broken
heel logic, hand. Always solid.
I know, but I find that funny.
Yep. Then we get Marcel Bartel versus Tommaso Ciampa. Ciampa attacks before the bell and takes out Eichner.
Yeah, we were at first confused. Is this a handicap match?
Right, because they were both there. He has no Thatcher, obviously.
It's been changed to a one-on-one.
Yep. Yeah, that was one of the changes they had to make. Ciampa starts out quickly before some holds and counters. Long headlock by Bartel really early, I thought. Too early to be a rest hold, so I questioned it there. But anyways, chin lock with some elbows by Bartel. Uppercut by Bartel and a butterfly suplex. Bartel comes off the second rope but gets caught by a knee before being clotheslined onto the apron. Eichner grabs a hold of Ciampa and Bartel hits a kick to Ciampa's head to shift the momentum of the match. Ciampa is then hung upside down in the ropes and Bartel hits a running basement dropkick. We get a knee lift and a clothesline by Ciampa a bit later, who knocks Eichner off the apron and hits a German suplex to Bartel before a Willow's Bell for the win for Ciampa. Any thoughts?
I thought the match was fine. There it is again. It was okay, but not great, not terrible.
Right.
It was fine. It was short, but I mostly am talking about other things.
I don't love Bartel's style as a singles wrestler. I feel like
he mixes well with Eichner.
Right. He needs the Eichner's combination of power and speed, and then he's the more technical ground guy, I guess. So him on his own, I didn't love particularly. So then Imperium's music hits after the match, and oh my god, we're excited because
freaking Walter, bro.
Walter appears on the stage and heads to the ring. Bartel and Eichner attack, and Ciampa fights them off before a massive chop from Walter takes him down, and a powerbomb from Walter, and Imperium stand over Ciampa.
Oh, hell yeah.
So, thoughts?
Holy crap, Walter actually
we love Walter.
Came. He actually came. Yes. I'm so surprised. Like, because he obviously doesn't want to live in the U.S., but like even him coming would still be like probably a big ask.
Yep.
So I'm surprised and overjoyed that he's come, and we're actually probably going to be getting this match, him and Ciampa, for the UK title, and that's going to be amazing.
So if you're not an NXT UK fan and you don't really know Walter, we were very skeptical of Walter. And
I had no idea who this guy was.
The first little bit we saw him,
until he faced Pete Dunne and won the title.
Right.
That was like...
He's amazing. He's just this big, burly... It's like you're wrestling a bear that happens to be an amazing technical wrestler too.
Right.
Like he's just so believable.
I think we said it multiple times, but Takeover's looking awesome.
And we'll get back to more Walter later. So I don't think this was the best build to get to this match. I don't think that Walter, the way they've booked him in UK, would really care about Ciampa at this point. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
Maybe because he wants a challenge. Maybe because he knows Ciampa's good.
Or he's just...
And no one in UK is on his level.
Maybe. But I'll take the match any way I can get it. I'm not going to complain too much because I just want to see Walter wrestle.
I think it's probably just he doesn't really have competition in the UK. I think there is competition here, like Finn Balor's from the UK.
Just a really unique big man. He's not in fantastic shape. Like, you don't look at him, he's not a bodybuilder, but he's just that guy at the bar, you know, that is just incredibly big and tough.
Yes,
and
I am getting his figures.
His
hopefully
chops
that
are unreal.
Comes soon.
So anyways, we then go back to the Cole O'Reilly saga, and they're being loaded into police cars while yelling at each other. So separate cars, sort of look, I think they're handcuffed at this point, being put in cars. Cole demands that Regal get O'Reilly under control, and just really brief, I did really like Adam Cole's sort of the one in the background as O'Reilly's getting into the vehicle in the foreground. And Cole is just screaming the whole time from far away, and I thought that was interesting. But just a really quick segment, nothing major, right? Yeah, just nodding. Nodding doesn't play well on a audio podcast.
It was good. Yeah, Cole's always good at like yelling.
Just screaming the whole time, basically.
I never loved these police car kind of segments.
Yeah, I don't know. It's fine, I guess.
All right.
LA Knight is drinking a giant jug of water, and he talks to the camera. He's a megastar among superstars, which I kind of liked, right? The idea that he's even beyond superstar, and we're about to find out why. So then Bronson is shown standing behind him, sort of shaking his head.
And then he walks into the locker room.
And you pointed out that, yes, he walks into the locker room that Knight came out of, and that is an important detail for later. So, I mean, another just standard LA Knight. He's confident. He's good on the mic. I like the idea that he's a megastar among superstars, so I thought it was fine. What'd you think?
Yeah, I liked it. Promos are his strength.
Yep.
So I thought this was really good here. And I don't love him feuding with Bronson Reed, but that's whatever.
And then we get this big obnoxious commercial where Gargano and LeRae love each other and Dairy Queen, which seemed kind of weird because they're mega heels putting over like what a happy,
and they're
lovely...
acting like faces. Like it's like almost like Johnny Gargano never turned heel in that, and like obviously it was an ad, but like it
was weird.
It doesn't technically count as part of the show, but it was pretty noticeable and awful.
We then get LA Knight making his wrestling debut, his in-ring debut versus August Gray. And it doesn't take long. We get a big back elbow by Knight, and he chokes Gray in the ropes before a running knee and a slingshot shoulder tackle.
Which I thought was actually kind of cool.
Yeah, he does basic stuff, but he makes it look pretty good. Like, he's not a high flyer or anything, and he's
there's
not
some interesting moves they hit every now and then.
A master technician, but he's a good pro wrestler. Power slam by Knight, and Reed comes out holding Knight's jacket. So this is what he went into the locker room to get. He does, and I'm going to call it this for a reason. It's called Fat Guy in a Little Coat. And if you haven't seen Tommy Boy, it's a movie with Chris Farley. Might be the movie I've seen the most in my life. And so his sort of partner is this tiny little guy. And to make him laugh at one point, he puts on his jacket and starts singing that. Anyways, so he puts it on the coat and it basically destroys it. We get a near roll-up by Gray and a flurry ending with a neckbreaker. A missed jump off the top rope by Gray, and Knight reins in strikes. Knight hits his cutter cravat DDT thing, for the win.
I forgot what it was.
It looks kind of cool.
I told you what it was.
You did, but I don't remember.
God damn it.
I thought
Knight. Say your thingy. I'll try to find it quick.
I thought Knight showed off his power and aggression, and the feud with Reed continues to develop, and it's probably a good starting point for him. I thought the match did its job, right? Knight looked okay. We also get, obviously, he's going to be feuding with Bronson Reed. It might be even at the pay-per-view.
Cravat driver.
Yes, on a sort of like a lower card match, which I'm sure Knight will win, but I don't know. It was fine. What did you think?
Yeah, I thought it was fine. I think the finisher is fine. It works.
Yeah,
it's
I liked
simple.
it.
You can probably hit it on anybody.
I think so.
But they would have to sell it good.
Yep.
I think Bronson Reed is not great, but it's a starter feud, so
yep.
It's but it could be a better starter feud for him. But like you said, he does a basic offense, but he makes it look good, which I think it's good either way as long as it's looking good, right? So.
Yep, he's got good charisma, right? So you can get a long way with that in wrestling for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Gonzalez then talks to Mackenzie and says Io made a mistake giving her the contract, and once she signs, Io's reign has an expiration date. Kai shows up and says that they can remind people who runs this place by beating Io and her new friend Zoe in a tag match. Gonzalez agrees, and I think that should be a fun match, and I hope that Kai and Gonzalez stay together, and that they can, even if Gonzalez wins the title, I still like the two of them together. I don't think there needs to be any tension, so I hope they stay together.
Yeah, they're a great team. I think
agree.
they're one of the legitimate teams here, but the best one by far.
But it seems like WWE, maybe even wrestling in general, has no ideas other than eventually they've got to break up, right? So I'm hoping that it takes a while at least.
Yeah.
Cross and Balor are then shown walking backstage as we head into the last break before the main event starts. We quickly get a Xia Li, resistance will not be tolerated and obstacles will be removed, as just a reminder that she exists. Then we get Regal is outside the building and hopes that the police drop the charges on Cole and O'Reilly, obviously because in the real world it might affect their wrestling in the future if they're in some legal trouble. He says he'll invite O'Reilly and Cole next week and he'll come up with something to settle this.
A solution.
So teasing some sort of angle to be on the show next week. Nothing major there. Then we roll into the main event, which is Lorcan and Burch, Oney Lorcan and Danny Burch versus Finn Balor and Karrion Kross for the NXT Tag Team Championships. And right away, Kross dominates Lorcan and suplexes him. Burch tags in and gets dominated with shoulder tackles and a clothesline. We get a bear hug by Kross for far too long, a little bit early in this match as well. Kind of took me out of it a little bit. Burch punches himself free finally of the bear hug, but gets body slammed right away. Lorcan run in, and there's some sloppiness as he sort of, the champs double team Kross and Balor. Double team Kross as Balor stands by and watches. I didn't make specific notes of what the sloppiness was, but
wasn't it like
we noticed
Lorcan broke a double suplex? No, he broke like a suplex.
That's where it was.
Yeah, and then there's like the double suplex.
That's coming right now. Yes, the double suplex, poorly done by Kross, who visibly checks on Danny Burch, who pretty much landed on his head because he didn't get released very well.
Of the match, basically.
Right. The ref checks on Burch, and we wait, then go to the commercial. And I don't think, it looked like Burch really got hurt, and I don't think he was really back, right? So, back from commercial with Lorcan kneeing Balor. Arm drag and an armbar by Balor. Knee and uppercut from Lorcan before some corner stomps. Choke with his boot and a snap suplex by Lorcan for 2. So it's all Lorcan at this point having to carry this whole match. Burch is being examined on the outside. It looked like he was maybe his shoulder, collarbone area. Uppercut by Lorcan in the ring. My notes here in the middle are, this is really boring. I think Burch is really hurt and they are improvising here. Pele by Balor to stop Lorcan's momentum. Lorcan knocks Kross off the apron, but Balor fires up with quick offense, ending in a double stomp and a clothesline to the floor. Sling blade on the floor to Lorcan. Shotgun dropkick sends Lorcan into Scarlet, and Balor checks on her. Kross grabs Balor by the throat and throws him into the barricade before throwing him back in the ring to get hit by a running uppercut for the pinfall, and Lorcan and Sorta Burch retain their titles. The Kross then hits 2 Saito suplexes to Lorcan before attacking Balor in the corner. We get a Saito to Balor and Kross chokes him out. Scarlet helps Balor up so Kross can hit his forearm to the back of the neck. And then that Scarlet tells Balor that he can't escape his fate as Kross's music hits to end the show. Thoughts?
So Burch got hurt early in the match and I think it really suffered as a result. The match was fine, and they did what they could. And made do with what they had, but I don't think it was that great. And I'm glad they didn't put the tag titles on Kross and Balor.
Strongly agree.
Although I'm thinking, it's weird, because I feel like if, this one made them more likely to put the tag titles on.
Right, that you would think, oh no, they got one guy against two, they're gonna have to. But no, they tried to save it, I guess. I thought it was a pretty weak main event, and again, probably.
And I'm thinking hopefully MSK can get back soon because they.
Me too.
Or maybe the titles will be vacated.
Even back for Mania week is all we need, really.
Yeah.
So weak, likely due to the Birch injury, at least partly. I was bored by this for the most part and didn't think anyone looked particularly good. Cross looked sloppy. Even his shoulder tackles at the beginning to me looked kind of weak. Balor didn't really do much at all. Lorcan had to carry way too much of this match, and it just wasn't entertaining for me. So yeah, I was disappointed in the main event, and you contrast that to the main event of AEW, right? Woo, couldn't get different.
That's a stark contrast, right?
What did you think of this show in general as a whole?
So guess what?
What?
The overall show is
fine. Right.
The opening segment was really a mixed bag because I thought it started good and ended bad.
Right.
Theory versus Loomis was mediocre at best, I think, and I don't really like Loomis in the ring, and his matches are pretty much all the same.
Mm-hmm.
There were some cool packages and vignettes, like Xia Li's was fine, and Grizzly Young Veterans was about as good as they could have done, and I can't think of any other ones offhand.
Right.
Cole O'Reilly was decent, but I would like better from them.
Me too.
Legato versus Breezango wasn't the worst, but was short and mediocre, and was the millionth meeting between those teams. Devil and Escobar had a good little back and forth afterwards, and that was one of my highlights, along with the next match, which was Zoe Stark.
Yeah, that was the highlight.
Dakota Kai. Yeah.
It was.
And that was a highlight for me. Another highlight was Ciampa versus Bartel, but not the actual match.
Right.
The match itself was fine for a TV match, not the best, and kind of short as well. What I liked was Walter's return. He's not been around in NXT in a year. I'm so surprised and happy they got him to come, and they better book him to defend that title against Ciampa because that's a killer match right there.
I think they will.
Two of my highlights are UK guys showing up. That's not a good sign.
So overall?
On that note, with Cross versus Balor, Devlin versus Escobar, Shaw versus Gonzalez being set up along with the presumed O'Reilly Cole match, and probably something for the tag and North American titles. I think TakeOver's looking amazing, and I think we'll have I don't know, someone will challenge, maybe we'll have a cruise. I think a cool thing would be even if it's just Kurt Stallion, blah blah blah, a cruiserweight 4-way, maybe night one, and Devlin or Escobar can face them the next night. Yeah, you know what I mean, kind of we were saying Cole and O'Reilly could face out to determine the NXT title challenger night too. They could do that something for the cruiserweight.
They could.
There's a lot of options. They just need to be smart about this because I think a 2-night takeover is really smart. I think it can work, but then again, I'm also thinking I've seen mostly 2-night things from AEW.
Mm-hmm.
So,
grade for the show?
I put a B-, and even I was close to a C+. It wasn't that great. I picked NXT first again this week and was disappointed again.
Match-wise, Stark Kai was the only thing I really enjoyed. Theory Loomis was decent, but Breezango Legato match felt stale to me. The main event was pretty much a dud to me. Bartel Ciampa was pretty boring. LA Knight's match was a squash, so in ring I thought this was really weak.
Yeah.
Segment-wise, the highlights for me as well were definitely the arrivals of Walter and Jordan Devlin. Other than that, the opening segment was far too long and main rostery. Cole O'Reilly stuff was okay. Io's brief appearance was cool, and pretty much everything else was just short, basic stuff. Not a very strong show. Felt super long to me, longer than some of their pay-per-views do. And earned a C+ from me, so not a very good week for them.
Yeah, I was really close at the C+. I was on the edge.
All right, well, that wraps up our Wednesday Night War discussion, and we'll move into some other wrestling stuff in our next segment, which is Any Other Wrestling Business. So we'll start out with a look at this week's ROH show that I watched on whatever that was, Sunday night or Monday. So it starts with Quinn McKay recapping last week's Four Corner Survival main event that saw Jay Lethal earn an ROH World Championship against Rush at, I guess, Friday's 19th anniversary pay-per-view. So I think that's coming up. I may have to see about that. We then see footage of Quinn interviewing Jay Lethal backstage. Lethal said he had tunnel vision while other entrants in the Four Corners match had other issues and were distracted.
Do they still have the tag titles?
Gresham and Do they? I think they do. I think they do.
I don't.
I'm not sure.
I want to check now.
He said getting the title shot sets up the foundation to purify the company by winning titles in each division. So I assume that means they have the tag one still. I know they don't have the 6-man tag.
Mm-hmm.
A fired up.
Did they even?
A fired up Lethal kept ranting about this while walking away from McKay. I actually thought this was pretty bad, and maybe it's just me, but Jay Lethal trying so hard to be intense and sincere, I found it almost
no, it's Dragon Lee and Kenny King.
That's right.
Sorry.
I found it almost comical. There's something about his delivery here that was more amusing than serious for me, and it's not what they're going for. So there's something about, he reminds me of like Rich Swann, that I feel like this isn't how he talks in real life, and that he's putting something on TV, and it bugs me. So I didn't like his delivery of this, trying to be super intense and serious, where I just kind of laughed at it. Quinn then hypes the upcoming pay-per-view and runs down the card for tonight. We get Dak Draper versus Fred Yehi, Tony Deppen versus Kenny King, and Flip Gordon versus Flamita in the main event. So once again this week we're getting 3 matches instead of the usual 2, and not the standard promo structure either. And it's not a criticism, just an observation, right? Because sometimes they only have 2 matches. Now they're sort of getting into 3 at some points. So Dak Draper then delivered a promo from inside the locker room. He said it was nice that Fred Yehi's success didn't go to his head following his first win. And contrary, Draper said his success went right to his own head, and he doesn't think that's a bad thing. So he's basically playing this super confident, physically blessed heel because he's like 6'5" or 6'6", which in ROH is like he's a monster basically. And he sounds somewhat like Eli Drake when he talks. I thought it was a solid promo, but fairly generic. Fred Yehi then gets his chance to speak while seated in a stairwell with horrible sound quality that really drove me nuts. The more and more we do this podcast, the more I become aware of what sounds good and not good. And this was like too big of an open space, too many brick walls. The sound, there's just a lot of reverb. It didn't sound good. He said he lost his last 3 matches. And then if you don't win in ROH, then your position in the company becomes questionable. Yehi said Draper is a big guy who has been on a bit of a tear, but if Yehi doesn't win, he doesn't eat. He questioned if Draper is ready to go toe-to-toe with the hungry Fred Yehi. I thought the promo was good. I must admit that I missed the pre-produced promos where the wrestlers were seemingly being real in their promos. I thought they were really effective. It seems like as the weeks go by, the wrestlers are starting to now play their quote-unquote characters, like Draper definitely is tonight. And for me, that's not a good thing for some of them. Again, the audio-video quality here and the natural feel of the promos, sorry, not here, but in the earlier promos and the reboot were really good and appealed to me more than what I'm seeing the past couple of weeks, where it's sort of less produced and more of the guys in character. Just isn't quite as interesting to me. We then get the match, which is Dak Draper versus Fred Yehi in a Pure Rules match. So Draper's in control early until Yehi catches him with a spinning back fist and then works him over in the corner with some cool knee strikes. Yehi performs a backslide for a 2 count before Draper comes back with a nice power slam. Yehi stomped the foot of Draper, then dropped down and hit it with punches, which was kind of a unique offense, targeting the foot of Draper. Draper fired back with a solid-looking punch to Yehi's jaw. So remember, this is a Pure Rules match, so that earns Draper a warning from the ref, but it was a really good-looking punch, I have to say. Yehi escapes a Magnum KO attempt, which is Draper's finisher, but shortly after, Draper hits a clothesline and a successful Magnum KO, which is sort of like a bigger version of the Wasteland a little bit, for the win in just over 11 minutes. Afterward, Draper offered Yehi a handshake, but he's also holding a participation ribbon in his hand as sort of an insult. Yehi doesn't accept the handshake, so Draper drops the ribbon onto him. Draper then extended his hand again. Yehi stood up, still selling the effects of the punch that Draper landed, and complained to the referee about it. Draper picks up the ribbon and tries to give it to Yehi again, but Yehi just shoves his hand away and left the ring, so no real code of honor after this match. The match was solid. The punch looked really good. Some of Yehi's offense looked cool. It was hard to get too into this because there's really no story other than it was a match for the pure rankings, so the pairing felt kind of random, but the match wasn't terrible. Then we move backstage again, and Quinn McKay is interviewing Tony Deppen and says that Kenny King was the one thing standing in the way of him getting an ROH title shot against Dragon Lee. Deppen said he knew he would have to watch his back and be on his game for this match. It was really a nothing promo. Deppen was fine. and he was the online choice for this opportunity. Like, the fans got to vote. So people seem to like his underdog, never say die character. He really does look like the boy next door, kind of like a young babyface Daniel Bryan. He doesn't really look like a professional wrestler, and that's not a bad thing. That can actually be a really interesting character for some people. The title shot on the line for Deppen adds some type of stakes for this match, at least, because otherwise it would just be a random match yet again. So it's kind of helpful. So we get Kenny King delivering a promo then with Amy Rose standing behind him. King rants about Deppen being hyped up by the internet and said that if Deppen is stupid enough to get in the ring with him, then that's where he'll be left. King randomly lashes out at Rose at the end of this by saying, "Stop talking to me crazy, bro. I don't know what's going on with you," and getting all mad at her. So King and Rose walk away, and Quinn McKay is sort of calling after them, criticizing King's behavior and telling Amy Rose that she doesn't have to take that from King. So I guess this is King now being like a mega heel, and he was pretty good here. I don't quite get the snapping at Amy Rose because she was literally standing there saying nothing. But I did like that Quinn was trying to do something about it and try to stick up for Amy Rose. It's just this idea, LFI are just the super mega heels, right? And I kind of enjoy it. They just do bad stuff and cheat and hurt people for no reason. And I kind of dig it. So then we get Tony Deppen versus Kenny King, and he's got Amy Rose, Dragon Lee, and Bestia Del Ring. Everybody except Roosh is basically with Kenny King. And it's basically the story of the cocky, overconfident King not taking Deppen seriously, even to the point where he pulls Deppen up after 2 counts multiple times to stop the pinfall and extend the match in classic heel fashion. Deppen would get flurries of his unorthodox offense, including a DDT on the floor and a double stomp for a nice near fall. Deppen fell off the top by accident, it looked like. A little bit of a botch here at one point, and King followed with a Tiger Driver. King sets Deppen up for the Royal Flush finisher, but Deppen escapes and catches King with an inside cradle for the pinfall. And Deppen wins the match. After the match, Dragon Lee and Bestia Del Ring obviously attack Deppen, and each hit their signature moves to him. This kid just got killed by a bunch of signatures and finishers after the match. Brody King makes his return. He runs in and attacks La Faction Ingobernables because they were basically his match with Roosh, right? He lost his title match with Roosh, but of course there was tons of shenanigans and interference from LFI members, so he still has a score to settle with them. Roosh then rushes out next, and Brody King takes him down briefly. Eventually, the numbers game takes over, and LFI put Brody on a table, and Bestia Del Ring hits a big senton, sending Brody King through the table. The match was pretty good and told the classic story of the underdog against the mega heel. I was surprised by Deppen's win. I enjoyed the post-match beatdown as well. LFI looked like a group of badasses basically every week, and I really like Brody King, so I'm glad to see him back. I assume he's going to need to assemble a team to take on LFI at some point, and that could be interesting depending on who he chooses to sort of fill out his group.
Maybe he could be the ROH version of Inc.
What?
Do you know Inc. from Impact?
Inc. Incorporated? Who was that?
Shannon Moore and someone else.
Oh my god, why would you make a reference to them?
I don't know, because he has tattoos.
I guess. Oh, he certainly does. Brody King is covered in them. We then get an inset promo as Flip Gordon heads to the ring for the main event. He basically said once he beats Flamita, he wants a title shot. Same thing for Flamita. As he enters the ring, he gets a little inset promo where he speaks in Spanish and says that Gordon disrespected him by taking his mask off. He says Gordon is no longer the good boy he once was, that he is no longer a high flyer, and there's something dark within him, but he will show Gordon that he is better. And I do like the fact that Flip Gordon is just refusing to wrestle as a high flyer, right? It's kind of like a darker version of, remember when, oh my goodness, Drew Gulak was in the 205 thing, basically. It's kind of that idea. He's just like, no.
No, yeah, it is.
I know I'm an amazing high flyer, but I'm not doing it anymore. So that kind of interests me.
That's also a weird reference.
It is. So we get Flip Gordon versus Flamita in the main event, and there is no code of honor, and a Hurricane Rana right away sends Gordon to the floor.
Is this pure?
No, not pure.
Oh.
Lots of good action in this, with Flamita really showcasing his speed and aerial ability, because I haven't seen him very much, to be honest. We get a Poison Rana by Flamita at one point, a power bomb for a near fall by Gordon at another, super kick by Gordon for a near fall, a frog splash by Flamita for a near fall, and then the finish eventually comes when Flamita avoids Gordon's finisher and attempts a 619 that gets blocked. As Gordon goes for his finisher again, Mark Briscoe appears and slides a chair into the ring. The ref's obviously distracted by this chair, and as he goes to get rid of the chair, Briscoe brings out a second chair and hits Gordon with it, and Flamita rolls up Gordon for the victory. I thought this was a fun match, and Flamita looked really good. Again, I haven't seen him too much, so I thought he looked good here. The finish was a little bit disappointing because it's that kind of distraction and cheating finish to get Flamita the win, but it does set up a match for Briscoe and Gordon, I guess, and sort of increases the heat in that match. It gives Flamita a somewhat cheap win in a match that was his... because it was about his mask and his culture being disrespected, so he's kind of picking up a cheap win in a match that in theory he would think is important, right? So I don't know how I feel about that, but the match overall was pretty good. The finish wasn't my favorite, but I get what they're trying to do. Overall, thoughts on this show, I found it to be pretty entertaining, and I did like the 3-match format and for a change of pace. All 3 matches were pretty enjoyable for me. I like that Brody Lee is returning because I think he should be a main eventer for this company. There was some story.
Brody Lee?
Sorry?
Did you see Brody Lee?
Oh yeah, sorry, Brody King. It's because of the Kenny King and Brody King. It drives me crazy. Sorry, Brody King. Not Brody Lee did not return. That would be more spectacular. It was Brody King. And some of the story progression in a few places in a 1-hour show. So all in all, I thought it was a pretty good episode. I gave it a B+. Again, sort of grading on a curve. I'm not saying that this episode of ROH is as good as the episode of Dynamite, but for their product, it was a B+.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so that
different standard, right?
Yeah, exactly. So do we want to do our Wrestling Rewind next?
That is correct. Pro Wrestling Rewind.
So let's talk about
Numero 5.
Yeah.
I just searched 30 full matches and I found Walter. Well, actually, no, I searched Walter. I found Walter versus Will Ospreay from Defiant Wrestling's Stacked 2018.
And what
internet title.
What I would recommend if you're a big wrestling nerd like I am, because when I listen to podcasts that do this sometimes, especially if it's just a single match, I will go and find the match. So, and it is available easily on YouTube, right? The whole match.
Yeah, just
so
literally search the
if you want to pause this podcast, watch it quickly. It's a pretty lengthy match, but it doesn't feel like it, right? So if you wanted to do that, you could. It's available, and we're going to talk about it now. So go ahead, buddy.
Mm-hmm. So Ospreay goes for the leg, and his gut wrench lifted on the apron, and Walter breaks the hold. Takedown and an arm hold by Walter. Ospreay avoids a corner chop and hits one of his own, followed by a handspring and kick. Corner chest kicks, followed by kick to the head by Ospreay. A forearm and an uppercut by Walter. Soul kick by Ospreay. Leapfrog and a boot by Walter, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, he demonstrates that he doesn't just have to be a big mauler, right? He can do pretty much everything. And he's pretty
fast hitting the boot after,
for his size, he's fast.
He was fast hitting the boot after, too, I noted. Leapfrog. Wait, no. I did it again. Chop by Walter. Deadlift gut wrench suplex for 2 by Walter after a forearm exchange. Body slam and a knee drop for 2 by Walter. Ospreay catches a chest shot and wrenches Walter's arm over Ospreay's own shoulder. Ospreay avoids boot and hits a drop kick to the knee. Enziguri and a 619 followed by a springboard clothesline by Ospreay for a 2. Backflip Enziguri by Ospreay since Walter's the outside. Mm-hmm. Walter catches a suicide dive, drops him, and chops him.
And Walter's chops, for a minute, if you don't know Walter, his chops get a reaction from the crowd like an RKO, basically, right? And I'm not even saying that that's wrong, because his chops are... One of my notes is basically, for me, Walter's like a giant version of Pac, right? Where everything's just a little harder.
He has the greatest chops I've ever seen.
Everything has more impact. Everything looks like it hurts a little bit more when Walter does it. So, sorry, carry on.
Yeah, he has No, I agree.
His chops are devastating.
Yeah, he has the greatest chops I have ever seen.
They're amazing.
In my life.
Yep.
But he is something else. Another chop from Walter. Ospreay hits some rapid fire chops, but those pale in comparison to Walter. Mm-hmm. Walter misses a chop and hits the ring post. There's a way to counter that. Mm-hmm. More chops from Ospreay, but after he breaks the count, he eats a boot. Ospreay is then darted into the ring post.
Looked awesome.
And if you don't know Will Ospreay, he's still in New Japan, I think.
Yeah, he's fantastic.
And he's
the ultimate high flyer, pretty much.
Right, he's New Japan's answer to Ricochet.
Yes, it's like the debate of who's the better high flyer in the world.
And he
Ospreay or Ricochet.
Was at this point, and maybe still is, if the group even exists, in Chaos, which is the Okada group that I talked about in the Jay White match. Ospreay's busted open, and he barely beats the count. Pretty nice, like near count out thingy.
Yeah, it was very close.
Usually those kind of suck.
Because he was like over the barricade and nowhere to be seen, right? And
I think, yeah.
I think so too.
Elbow to the forehead by Walter, kind of like bionic elbow style. Walter twists his foot on Ospreay's face, like kind of like I don't know. It's hard to explain. Overhand corner chop by Walter. And another one. Ospreay is defiant, no pun intended, and chops back. Ospreay counters a powerbomb into a guillotine, which they call the golden bomb, but I'm not going to do that. Walter powers out into a butterfly suplex for 2. Ospreay gets out of a double underhook superplex attempt and kind of does like that super kick between Walter's legs.
The cheeky Nando's kick, it's called.
I'm not going to do that either.
Okay.
That's like Stundog Millionaire for me.
Okay.
Walter gets the feet up on a moonsault and falls with a missile dropkick and then a power bomb for a near fall, which is his finisher, by the way.
It is.
Which I thought was a great sequence. He got the feet up nice and the dropkick was amazing.
Yep.
Sleeper hold by Walter, but a rope break. German suplex by Walter sends Ospreay to the outside. Chop by Walter, chest clubbing blows by Walter, kind of like Sheamus style, but faster.
Yep.
Uppercut off of the barricade by Ospreay. Cartwheel moonsault over the top rope by Ospreay. Like Ricochet style.
Yep.
Sorry.
Okay.
Walter is snat over the barricade. That's what my note says. I meant to say sent. Don't know why it doesn't have like the red line. Otherwise I would notice it. But anyways, crossbody off the top rope into the crowd by Ospreay, kind of like the front row. And Walter sends Ospreay back over the barricade, but Ospreay is able to beat the count narrowly once again. Kicks by Walter, but Ospreay gets up. Forearms by Ospreay and a chop by Walter. Strikes by Ospreay, chop by Walter, but Ospreay kips up immediately, hits an enziguri. Rapid fire kicks and a roundhouse by Ospreay. Sunset bomb counter to the power bomb by Ospreay. Lariats by Ospreay don't take Walter down. Slap by Walter and Ospreay retaliates with a big lariat that finally takes him down. Chest kicks by Ospreay. And Walter retaliates with the boot and a nice like kind of half and half suplex deal.
Yep.
A suplex counter and stunner kind of thing, kind of Stundog Millionaire deal by Ospreay. Super kick by Ospreay. Walter's now draped over the top rope. A shooting star press by Ospreay, and then 2 more shooting star presses for 2. Walter counters the Os Cutter into the choke, which is the I think his finisher. I don't really know.
What, the Os Cutter?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Ospreay counters into a pin for 2, and Walter's able to get the choke again for the win, and he retains the Defiant Wrestling Internet Championship.
Yeah, so one thing surprised me about this match is that it sounded like he got more in your recap, but this match is really all about Walter, right? Ospreay doesn't get a ton of time on offense, I didn't think. And when he does, it's this cool story of like, for every 10 things that Ospreay does, one thing by Walter has more impact, right? And it completely makes sense and is believable. Walter dominated much of the match, as he should, in my opinion. He is so believable as an absolute mauler who can wrestle a technical match when he needs to. His move just seems to have more impact than anyone else. And at the pace at which he works, like his ability to shift gears, right, on top of his unique look are so rare, because if he wants to be slow and methodical and powerful, then that's what he does. But if he needs to speed it up and work faster and be technical, then that's what he does. I almost worry about him coming to North America because he needs to be booked this strongly to really work as well as he does. I have no confidence that WWE would do that anywhere outside of NXT UK. Ospreay impressed me with his selling ability here. I thought that added quite a bit to the match. His incredible offense was on display briefly at times, but he didn't get a ton. This was like a 25-minute match-ish, I think. It flew by for me. I love the first 2/3 of it especially. The finish came kind of out of nowhere for me, but at the same time, matches ending without the people's finishers almost add some realism, right? That it's not
kinda
always...
like Mox choking out like Brody Lee and Kingston and...
And it almost, in some cases, and I think here, it makes Ospreay look a little bit better because a killer like Walter...
He kicked out of the powerbomb earlier, right?
Right, so... and Walter has to beat him with whatever way he can. He can't just count on hitting his finisher, right? He's like, if I see an opportunity to win, this guy's so good, I've got to take it, right? I really enjoyed this match. We're huge Walter fans. It's just a Walter love fest. I gave it an A-. I thought it was really good. And it was interesting to me because Ospreay really didn't get a ton of... If you watch some other Ospreay matches, right, like you'll see the kind of stuff this guy does.
This is really not Ospreay's match.
No, but with Walter, I thoroughly enjoyed it. What did you think?
I thought the match was really good. I haven't seen much of Ospreay before, but he was really good here, despite not getting a ton of offense.
Yeah, I was impressed with his selling here.
Right. Walter's chops never fail to amaze me.
It's
even though
crazy
I've
to
seen
say
them a million times.
because it's the most basic thing ever, right? But
remember
with him,
the one time
it's deadly.
he hit one on Adam Cole and he just sold it like a champ.
It's gotta hurt real bad.
There were some awesome sequences. I thought the moonsault counter, drop kick, and then the power bomb by Walter was great, along with the shooting star trifecta by Ospreay.
Yep.
The two styles really meshed well here, and the match was really good. There's a bit of sudden finish, but it was good, like you said. I thought it was a B+ and like almost an A-.
Yep.
I thought.
Very enjoyable. Went really quickly because when I saw the video was 30 minutes, I'm like, really? But then once you get past the intros and stuff, it went by quick.
It was really good.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. So I would recommend people go check it out. It is available on YouTube. All right. So let's talk about Impact Wrestling. And I told you would enjoy it this week because you prefer when I don't like Impact. Yes, so I didn't like much about this show.
Less you not liking it, more when it's laughably bad.
Right. So, Impact Wrestling from this Tuesday. The show starts with highlights from Sacrifice, focusing on the main event of Swan and Moose, which was excellent, and the tag team title match of the Good Brothers and Finn Juice, which was also very good. I recommend both of those matches. So we go right into a match which is going to be Triple XL versus Finn Juice. And this was an Impact Wrestling 4-minute, little more than a squash match that saw Finn Juice defeat Triple XL when Finley moved out of the way of a Romero senton, which is a good idea because Romero weighs about 500 and something pounds.
Right, you're basically done if you take that.
So he ended up hitting Larry D with it instead. So all 4 men are in the ring, but Finn Juice send AC out of the ring before hitting a double flapjack on Larry. Juice Robinson dives onto AC to make sure he's no longer involved. Finley hits an acid drop, or the Dudley Dog, I think is what the little Dudley Spike used to call it. So he hits it on Larry in the ring, and Finn Juice win based off of that move. Finn Juice looked really quick, showed a lot of cool double team moves in this brief 4 minutes. It was nice to know that when I see the tag team titles being defended, there's going to be a bit more pace to the matches now in Impact. Now the Good Brothers aren't sort of half the good, 57% of the Good Brothers aren't lumbering around the ring. I could only watch Gallows in TV matches so much because he really doesn't try, in my opinion. But that being said, it was an unspectacular opener, which I'm disappointed because lately Impact's had some good openers, right? I've been saying like it's almost like they've picked up a lesson from AEW and that start out hot. So this was a standard 4-minute Impact TV match, which means it's not great. After the match, the Good Brothers obviously come out and they are angry. Anderson briefly blamed Gallows for the loss, and I was like, what? But then it seemed like they were kind of jokey about it. Basically say that they have been spreading themselves too thin between AEW and Impact. Anderson says he's busy with his kids and his hot Asian wife and he's exhausted.
Oh my god, he says that every time when he describes his wife. He has to say, not just like hot wife, even that's a little weird, but like hot Asian wife.
Right.
Like he says that every time.
And so he's exhausted from all of this. So they're just making excuses for their loss. Gallows says they weren't properly prepared and he had jet lag from the trip from Jacksonville.
More like Gallows lag, jeez.
And he was a little hungover. So again, what professionals you guys are, right? Like you advertise you're hungover for your matches. Anyways.
As if that's an excuse.
Right. They want a rematch and Juice says they're good with that. Finley says that if they're busy, they're returning to Japan, so the Good Brothers will have to wait until Finn Juice come back to Impact in April. So
basically they're going to hold the tag titles hostage until April.
That's right. They call the Good Brothers young boys to end the promo, and the Good Brothers attack them, but Finn Juice slide out of the ring. So I'm happy that the Good Brothers don't get their way here and that they're going to have to wait. It was a fine, predictable segment, I guess. But yes, so they're taking the titles away for about a month, it looks like, to Japan. They may even defend them there. I don't know. We'll find out. We then move on to a Sami Callihan promo in which he says he made it obvious since day one that his message is exposing fakes. He says Miguel fakes having passion, and what makes him angry is that he confuses anger with passion. He's hot-headed, but he doesn't have the passion that Sam Beal had last week by stabbing Trey in the back. He says Trey can get wins here and there, but lacks the passion to get to the next level. He says tonight he's going to embarrass Trey and make an example out of him. I actually really like this promo, despite, again, Impact, the stupid audio-video glitches you do during Sammy's promos. They take away from it significantly. Stop it. The problem here, though, is that I agree with the heel. It does feel like Trey Miguel is a guy that's pretending to be passionate and fired up. Sammy's delivery was really good, and what he says makes sense, even though I don't know if that's what they're going for, right? Because you're not supposed to agree with the heel, but I do. But they need to stop with the glitches in his segments. We get more Good Brothers, yay, as they burst into Scott D'Amore's office to complain about Finn Juice taking the titles back to Japan. D'Amore agrees with them, says that even though it wasn't part of the plan, the titles will be defended in Japan, but the Good Brothers will get their rematch at Rebellion when Finn Juice return.
I thought it's kind of like they're going to Japan with them.
The Good Brothers are satisfied by this for now and they leave, just as Tommy Dreamer walks in and closes the door. Dreamer says he doesn't want to be one of those guys, but they have no tag titles, and this is a mess they're in now. D'Amore says they built a bridge with a company that's hated them for years, and it's not an easy thing, talking about sort of sharing talent with New Japan. They could run it into the ground like Dreamer and Paul Lee did with ECW. If he thinks it's so easy, Hardcore Justice is coming up, and it's right up Dreamer's alley. So he tells Dreamer, go ahead and book that card.
I don't even know if you know what they should do is they should do Lockdown again.
You think so? And do all the matches in it? Yeah, we were just watching
That would be funny also, because if no, wait, they should save until we're in lockdown again.
We were watching some TNA 2005 the other day, right? So this is a weird segment so far, because D'Amore's really annoyed with Dreamer, right? For saying, like, it's your fault, the company's in a mess right now. So he's mad and is like, fine, if you're so smart, then book this card. Well, Dreamer says he already has written out a card for this, and he shows it to D'Amore, who says it's good and that he's okay with it. So D'Amore is now totally fine with Tommy Dreamer, which I thought was weird. He gets mad at Dreamer for suggesting that D'Amore is not doing a good job running the show. And then he's so mad that he challenges Dreamer to book the show himself.
Oh, you've already booked it?
Dreamer,
okay.
And then he's like totally fine with it and is happy now and no longer mad at Dreamer and everything's fine. So weird, I didn't understand it. I thought Dreamer's kind of subdued delivery was actually good. And so their use of him lately, right? It's been different and less frequent of Dreamer is actually working for me. So I didn't mind the segment. I was just a little confused by D'Amore's sort of, I'm super mad at you, now I'm not mad at you. It was weird. We then get Rhino versus Jake something, who has Sabin and Storm with him. So this is not even a 4-minute match now. And a brawl outside that leads to Jake being distracted and taking a gore and losing. So really no details here. Unfortunately, Jake picks up a loss. After the match, Violent by Design beat down all 3 baby faces in the ring, while Eric Young screams at the camera that this world belongs to them. This was less of a match and more of just a vehicle to get to the post-match beatdown. Jake seems more confident to me, and I see something in him, and I wish he didn't take this loss, but I guess there's a reason for it. He was distracted, as every wrestler gets distracted by everything all the time, right?
I heard there's like a slight, like a needle dropped in the empty arena.
Everyone turns and looks at it. Eric Young is believable as a completely unhinged cult leader, but the more I see Violent by Design, Joe Doring is starting to look sort of out of place, right? Because you've got, I don't know, you've got this cowboy in jeans and a cowboy hat among these cult members, and he just kind of sticks out like a sore thumb.
Unless they're all dressing like that. Or they all weren't dressing like that.
So I'm wondering if they brought Rhino in as a replacement, and maybe they're going to get Doring out of this group and doing something else.
Or they get rid of him because he hasn't, like, he was from other place.
Yeah, he's originally been wrestling in Japan. So I think Doring looks interesting. He just doesn't really fit in with this group so far. Then we get Tenille. She's backstage with Caleb and her partners tonight for the 12 women match. So she's got a whole group of heels there, the heel team. She says she has a great tag team name, Tenille Dashwood and the Followers, which I thought was kind of clever because her gimmick's like she's an influencer, right? And she's all about followers. Mm-hmm. Obviously, no one else.
I saw the lineup for the match. I noticed that it's like the heels would probably work together well because it's like 3 of them are in the same group, which is Perazo and Friends. And then there's Dashwood and who else? Sorry.
Fire and Flava.
Right, which is another team.
Right.
Right. And then the faces will just work together because they're faces. But...
Right. So no one likes that name suggestion, obviously. Deanna speaks up and says she has something more important than a name, and that's a plan. Kiera Hogan says that they have double the titles of Deanna, so that they should be the ones, and they're also their titles or for a tag team setting. So in a team setting, she thinks they should have more input than Perazo does. Deanna basically says that thrown together heel teams always infight and that they should try to be different and stop fighting and come up with a plan. Fire and Flava agree, and they call themselves Team Justice and walk out without Tenille. Tenille is upset as she realizes that she didn't get to give her inspirational quote, and although Caleb wants to hear it, she runs off to follow the rest of Team Justice. I thought Purrazzo and Fire and Flava were good here. Dashwood was fine. I did like the little bit about Dashwood forgetting her inspirational quote, because to me that seems like they're taking a shot at like the contrived nature of many influencer stuff, right? Like none of it's spontaneous. It's all like, oh, I have an inspirational quote I planned on reciting here and I forgot. Yeah. So I kind of like that idea. We then get Rohit Raju and versus Mahabali Shera, which is like the shortest alliance of people ever. Like from it's like warp speed WWE. From them forming to breaking up has been like 2 weeks, I think. So yet another 4-minute match where the difference between the rate of improvement between these two was glaring, right? Because Shera and Rohit, neither of them were very good a few years ago, and now Rohit I think is fantastic and Shera is still very limited. So Rohit is now so quick and so much more fluid and capable of chaining moves together, while Shera looks marginally better than his last stretch with Impact. Rohit won as he should, by cheating as he should, when he put his feet up on the ropes to earn the pinfall. For the record, I find it very challenging to evaluate the quality of these 4-minute and less Impact matches. Like, what can I really say? You know what I mean? And that's been every match so far.
Which is kind of a bit on NXT too. Like, they weren't like exactly 4 minutes, but like even just when they're shorter in
like
general.
What can I say in a 4-minute match? Nobody really gets time to do anything. So it's like a lot of, it was fine. So anyways, every match so far has been basically 4 minutes or less. Rich Swann is being congratulated backstage by Willie Mack for his unified world title win at Sacrifice. He says they need, Willie Mack says they need to celebrate tonight. Swann says that they will, but he needs to take care of some stuff first. There was nothing really here, although maybe I'm picking up a little bit of something from Willie Mack, and I'm wondering if there's going to be a turn there, because he basically wanted to go out and party with Swann, and Swann's like, kind of brushing him off a little bit. So I'm wondering if there's a reason for this interaction, but if not, it's really nothing. So Rich Swann is then in the ring cutting a far too long promo, and I've seen people since love this promo, and they're like saying this is like amazing, and I'll agree that parts of it were really good, but I thought it was too long. Anyways, he's talking about how special and rare it is to win 2 titles. He can barely hold the titles. They're so heavy. He has tons of respect for Moose despite hating him. But he refers to this monkey on his back from a while ago of being pinned by Omega in their tag team match. And at Rebellion, we're going to see who the real world champion is and who the best wrestler in the world is. So I sort of going to talk about...
Here's a hint. It's not Rich Swann.
I think he could have said this in about half the time. And the parts where he was serious were actually really good. But then that never lasted long because he goes back to this affected voice that I can't stand. And I swear to you, if I were to randomly run into Rich Swann in the world somewhere and somehow had a conversation with him, there's no way he would talk like this. And that's my issue.
Didn't we meet him like a while ago? He was just sitting in a chair.
We did see him.
We met Johnny Impact and then we came out, Rich Swann's just sitting in a chair.
Yes. He does not sound believable the way he delivers everything. Except the serious parts I thought were really good. So there's bits of this he's really serious and intense and it was cool, and then it was his sort of put on that voice again and go back to babyface Rich Swann. I didn't love it. Callis then shows up to join Swann, and he's condescending and smug and amazing. And then he goes on for... The
human embodiment of pond scum.
I thought he went on for a little bit too long as well, but his message was pretty awesome. He starts out by saying how much of a Swann guy he is, and he cites the many times that he supported and fought for Swann's position in the company, and Swann has to agree with him. So Callis was one of his biggest supporters, I think, in real life, getting him there, and he even talks about, like, I fought for you to be paid even when you were out for months with your injury, like, you're my guy, sort of thing. And then... he puts over the one-winged angel a bunch, implies that Omega basically haunts Swann, refers to Rich Swann's wife basically at one point, and then he starts to ramble out about some things I don't need to take notes on. Callis leaves and Swann does his best to look introspective and rattled. I really love the first few minutes of Callis's promo here, and there was a cool line at the end of it where he basically implies that Swann can't win because it's not part of Callis's plan, right? And his plans always work to this point.
That's true.
Right? It almost felt like they needed to fill time a little bit here. There are really excellent parts to this promo, but they could have pared it down. I've seen the general reaction is very positive to this, and that's good. Callis did a great job. So overall, it was a good promo, but I thought there were some bits that they could have cut out of it. We get the AEW paid promo, and they've basically given up on these. This one is like almost 100% just a rundown of the card. An
actually paid promo?
Yeah, basically. Like, they just ran down the card for the St. Patrick's Day show.
So it's actually like what it...
Yeah, they're doing what it really would be in real life.
Even like funny anymore?
No. The only thing Khan does, he ends once they go over the show saying that Impact could never put together a card that good. So I used to look forward to seeing these because they were funny, and now it's just, honestly, it feels like a legit ad for Dynamite, so it's somewhat disappointing. We then have Matt Cardona and Eddie Edwards are backstage when Brian Myers comes in. Eddie says that he really has no issues with Myers anymore, tries to be nice to him, and then leaves. Myers confronts Cardona and says that Impact is for him, for Myers, and it's his place. It's the one time in 18 years where he was going to do it on his own, and he didn't want Cardona showing up, and he has.
That's fair.
Right? So I like this, but again, I agree with the heel, which I'm not supposed to do, because I can totally understand Myers feeling this way, right? Like, this is his one chance to get away from his best buddy and partner, who generally, let's be honest, takes the majority of the attention.
Right, like the Long Island IZ.
Because his whole gimmick is, yeah, I'm getting more attention. Look at me, and Myers was always less of that. So I get this. It doesn't make him look like a heel, in my opinion, but I still did like it, right? So then we get this 12-woman tag match, which, as you said, is Tenille, Deonna Purrazzo, Susan, Kimberly, Fire and Flava versus Jordan Grace, Jazz, Havoc, Nevaeh, ODB, and Alicia. And my first note is that Impact clearly hates me because I'm forced to watch Alyssa on offense first and then immediately transition into ODB on offense to start this match.
I thought you were going to then say Susan.
There's 12 women in this match, and Alicia, who, I'm sorry, I've tried to be nice, she's really bad, and she gets a lot of time in this match when there's 12 women here. That's one of my problems with it. At one point, Stryker says that a lot of people think Purrazzo and Jazz are the best wrestlers in the division, and I just put, no, they don't. Purrazzo, yes. Jazz, no. They all take turns hitting signatures twice. They do 2 rounds of this, like, you hit your signature on me, I roll out of the ring, someone else comes in and hits theirs. So they do 2 separate rounds of this. So yes, you get some cool moves, but it just didn't really make sense to me. Susan, at one point, who pretends she can't wrestle, is wrestling Alicia, who actually can't wrestle, and that kind of made me laugh. So we get our second round, as I said, of hit a move and take a move from someone new. The finish comes when Jazz and Kimberly end up alone in the ring, and Jazz hooks in an STF and Lee quickly taps out. As you can probably tell, I didn't think this was great. There was so much going on, a lot of contrived sections and spots. There were some cool moves from some of the knockouts, but nothing really stood out. No storylines were really furthered, I don't think. There was too many of the competitors in this match just don't interest me, right? ODB, Jazz, Kimberly, who I'm kind of just out on at this point. Sorry, Kimberly. Susan, Alicia, and almost Havoc and Nevaeh too at this point. This division needs something to get to the level they were when we started doing this show, because it's not there anymore. Yeah, that would help. So not a fan of that match either. Gia is backstage with Ace Austin and Madman Fulton. Ace says all is right in Impact now that he's atop the X Division again. He says Sacrifice was what he likes to call pure poetry, a story unfolding the only way it could. He was undefeated until TJP beat him and humbled him, and now he has TJP's title, and he knocked him down a peg. Chris Bay comes in and says if he wants to talk about poetry, they should talk about art and how Bay beat him with the art of finesse. Then Josh Alexander comes in, and I'm loving this segment because these are all guys that I think are amazing.
There's a good triple threat.
Right? He comes in and says they have a field of contenders, pointing out that he should be number 1 contender. TJP walks in, and Austin says he's at the back of the line, so step back. TJP steps back and says, per Scott D'Amore, it's round 2 next week between TJP and Ace Austin. He tells Ace to enjoy the next 7 days and not get fingerprints on his title, which was a pretty good line. And I just said, look at this division. You've got a small company with an impressive collection of talent, and I like this segment. A bunch of talented guys that want the title, and that's the entire story, right? They all just want this championship, which makes the championship look good. I don't love that TJP.
The championship does look good, like actually the design.
Yeah, you like it. I don't love that TJP gets another title shot.
It's kind of just a rematch, though, right?
It is, but how many rematches do we need?
Did he already get a rematch?
They've just wrestled a million times, it feels like, and Rohit as well.
Okay.
But the match will be good. No one talked for very long in this. I thought everyone did a good job, even TJP, who I'm sometimes critical of. So just give me this group more and more and more, please. We then get a promo for Hardcore Justice, which is now the one being booked by Tommy Dreamer, where every match has some sort of like hardcore stipulation or some variation of it, I believe.
They better actually be hardcore.
And Stryker and D'Lo break down the card for next week. So far, we have the X Division match between Ace Austin and TJP for the title, which should be good. Deanna versus Jazz, which I'm less excited about. And Carl Anderson versus Eddie Edwards, which could be good. So we then get our main event, and I look at the clock, and there's a half an hour left of this. I'm like, what? Impact's doing... This is going to be longer than 4 minutes, Impact. What's going on? So this match starts off really fast with no sequences of holds and counters right away. A few highlights from the match, because it's almost a half-hour match. I think it was like 28 minutes or something they got. So some of the highlights, I will say Trey Miguel does look more aggressive, and it does help. He's trying to shed that fun-loving kid gimmick he had as part of... Rascals. I already forgot their name from
because MSK now.
There was a lion tamer on the floor to Trey by Sammy that looked really cool. Trey at one point gets thrown to the floor and lands really hard. It looked really good. Sammy attacks Trey's ankle outside. It becomes the focus of the match. A lot of repeated ankle work. We get a really sweet looking Boston Crab sort of in the corner ropes by Sammy that looked awesome. A nice fast slingshot neckbreaker by Sammy that looked really good. Roll of the dice by Trey Miguel at one point for a 2 count.
Is that like the Crossroads?
Yes, very similar.
Yeah, because I remember seeing the move in 2K and it's called like rolling the dice or whatever. So
it was by Reno in WCW.
Who's that?
He was a really jacked guy with a really bizarre haircut I think he was out of like their power plant and they expected bigger things from him, but he never really did much. At one point, Sammy has to bite Trey to escape the hourglass submission that Trey's trying to put in. We get a power bomb into a Boston Crab, into an STF by Sammy, a springboard cutter to the floor by Trey. We finally, long story short, there's lots of stuff going on here. We get a big package pile driver, a really nice one. And Sami Callihan wins this match, which I was surprised. So this was a very, very long TV match and easily the best match on the show and a really good match overall. For me, this was a nice reminder that Sammy is a really good wrestler and he can do more than just the violent like stuff with weapons and kendo sticks. I thought he looked really good here. One complaint I have about the match is that Trey is trying to sell his ankle being just destroyed, but then almost all of his offense involves him sprinting towards Sammy, so there's a disconnect there, right? But that's nitpicking. This was a really good match, even though I'm not a huge fan of Trey Miguel. If he is better and more serious, whatever, and it works, I'll be totally happy with it. I was a bit surprised that Sammy won clean, and I'm sure that this is the proof. I'm not sure, that this is the proof Trey is now passionate, but the story is going to continue, and I really enjoyed this match. Overall, even though I thought the main event was really strong, the episode itself was not. The main event was good. Most of the Callis Swan segment was quite good. I liked the interactions between Myers and Cardona, and I liked the X Division competitor segment. The rest of the matches were too short to matter, too much of a cluster, the 12-woman tag match, to be enjoyable. Not a show that you need to see. It earns, no pun intended, earns a grade of a C for me and was disappointing because the last few weeks have been pretty good. So I did not enjoy this show. The main event I would actually recommend people check out, but everything else is sort of missable in my opinion.
Nice.
All right. So that brings us to what? Preview?
Yes.
All right. And I put a little thought into it, but not a lot. So let's talk preview for, what's it called? Fastlane?
Yeah.
All right. Hit me.
The most pointless pay-per-view that has ever existed in the history of the world.
And you're doing the record keeping on this one, right? You've got correct. A chart? You got the chart?
I has the chart.
You know I do love a nice chart.
Yeah. So we got Matt Riddle, Mustafa Ali, United States Championship.
Really? I don't even think I've heard that. And I thought
I know they had a match on Raw as well.
So. I will say Riddle will win. Because how could that other guy ever win or do anything?
So I also went with Matt Riddle. I think he's still kind of a fresh champion. He only won it at Elimination Chamber, right? And I think if they fix his character, ditch the scooter, make him less comedic and silly, because that's not what his character is, right? Like, no. You could think that, but like that's not what it is, right? And and I think he'll be so much better. 'Cause with the right booking, he's great, right?
Oh, he should be a star. Yeah. He's got such a cool style.
He should be in the main event, but I'll take this for now because I think he would be great in the mid card as well. He's supposed to be kind of just like laid back and chill, not a silly moron, right?
Right.
I mean, Mustafa Ali was good and is good in ring.
Yes.
But the retribution gimmick has hurt him and everyone involved.
For sure.
And I wouldn't be surprised if this is good, but I also wouldn't be surprised if it's on the kickoff.
Yeah, I could see it as a really hot opener if they let it be.
Yeah,
right?
I can also see it as a kickoff because it's WWE.
Yep.
A match I had no idea we were getting: Seth Rollins versus Shinsuke Nakamura.
I'll take. I don't want him to win, but I think it's going to be Rollins, just because who do they want to pay more attention to? If history is any indication, they care much about Seth Rollins and they care little about poor Shinsuke, who's amazing.
Seth Rollins is good. So is Shinsuke, but they've never given Shinsuke ever a chance. I also went with Rollins. I don't know why this match is happening, but maybe because Nakamura and Cesaro are former tag partners and Rollins is feuding with Cesaro.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So either way, I don't care because this should be a good match. I remember they had a match at Survivor Series when they were both mid-card champs.
Yeah, both good workers.
That was pretty good.
Should be good, for sure.
Yeah, and if WWE just lets them do what they do, then it'll be good.
Yep.
So given that Rollins is looking to head into a Mania program with Cesaro, he's probably going to win, and also it's Shinsuke Nakamura, so they're not gonna have him win. I'm not saying he sucks. I'm saying WWE makes him suck.
There was a time where he was legit.
There's the off chance though that Cesaro will cost him the match though, and so that's the only chance Nakamura has.
Fair.
But I'm pretty sure he's gonna pick up a win at the expense of poor Shinsuke Nakamura. Also, credit to CBS Sports for the match card. That's where I got it from.
Nice.
So
good.
They also got predictions.
They do some nice work.
Yeah.
Wrestling.
Alexa Bliss versus Randy Orton.
I will take Alexa Bliss.
Okay.
Fiend returns. He's involved. Blah blah blah.
So I saw a random opinion on CBS Sports that made sense, and I kind of based mine off it because they haven't booked an intergender match in ages, and there's a little chance we actually go in here. So my prediction isn't even really a prediction. My prediction is just the Fiend returns.
I was gonna say, what are the chances they let Randy Orton beat the hell out of a 5', 100-pound woman?
And what's the chance that they have an actual match here, right? So I think the Fiend will probably return, and he better be different. Like if he just returns, then what the hell, right? Like, there has to be something different.
I have just lost any sense of caring about that guy.
I know, but I'm just saying, there has to be something, right?
Hopefully.
And they're going to set up some wacky sin match at Mania, probably.
Probably.
Honestly, though, from watching Raw, this feud's been dragged out too long. I think maybe the Fiend should have been burned at the Rumble, because that would have shortened it a bit.
Yeah.
And it would have been at a major pay-per-view.
Yeah, it's a supernatural magic storyline, and I'm out.
Yeah. Next. Shane McMahon versus Braun Strowman.
Oh my goodness. Have you watched that promo yet?
No.
Oh, it's like
I don't even know which one specifically though.
It's when Shane starts out in the ring and walks out and then cuts a promo on the ramp to Braun. It's one of the worst things I've seen. Anyways, I will say I honestly think it might be Shane, but I'll take Braun just because it can't be Shane, right? You can't have Shane win.
They already had a match on Raw, I think, but I don't know who won. I picked Shane.
Nice. At least we'll have some difference.
I've heard that this might even be scrapped, but I put it in here just in case.
Yep.
They have a bad segment and a bad match on Raw to their name, so this probably won't be much.
Beyond bad.
Yeah, I think Shane will probably get a cheap win, and then they'll get some no DQ match or something at Mania for Braun to get his win back.
Shane's promo was so bad that people should watch it.
Yeah.
It's
so
amazing.
Big E versus Apollo Crews Intercontinental Championship.
Ooh, that's an interesting match, actually.
I know it's really interesting.
I'll take Big E Langston.
Can I write Big E Langston?
Sure. Just because I don't think it's time for him to lose that unless they want to move him up the card. But history has told us no, they do not.
I actually went with Apollo Crews because I think he has finally become somewhat interesting.
Yep.
It would be complete waste if he loses to Big E again.
That's a
the main event is occupied right now, and WWE clearly have no intentions, like you said, of pushing Big E hard to the main event. Even if Apollo has to drop the title back at Mania, like night 1 or night 2, doesn't matter.
Yep.
I think he needs to at least win here to show that the change means something, right?
Yep.
To like, cause like, oh, he changed, now he can beat Big E, right? I think if Big E wins, it doesn't better or worsen him. He'll be fine either way. I think he'll be where he is. But I think the loss will for sure hurt Apollo Crews. So I think he will be bettered if he wins, and then I think loss will be a bigger setback for him.
I like your logic a lot, actually, but I will not change my pick. I'll stick with
it. It was
mine.
kind of helped with CBS Sports, so thanks to them again.
You can get help.
Our favorite match from Elimination Chamber, Jackson Baszler versus Banks and Belair. Again.
Jackson Baszler. I just don't see why you would put the tag. Although, who knows? I'm trying to use logic, which is generally a bad idea. I don't know why you need to put the tag belts.
We're previewing a main roster pay-per-view, and we're trying to use logic.
Right. So I will say champs retain, just because I can't see why you need belts on the other two. Right. But I also don't watch the product very much.
Yeah, I also picked them, because who else are you picking? I just wrote, can we be done with this already? Like, this is so dumb, and it's a terrible way to build to a match that could be awesome.
Yep.
Banks has to turn heel here, otherwise this feud with Belair has no luster, really, for me, and makes Belair's Rumble moment really seem less meaningful.
My understanding is Banks' promos lately have been sort of like
heelish,
leaning heel,
which I even thought when she was feuding with like Bayley or after, or like when she's feuding with Carmella, just like that's what she is.
I much prefer her as a heel. She's one of my favorites.
The only time she ever worked as a face to me is against Charlotte.
Yep. No, she's an amazing heel. I think she's one of the best women wrestlers they have when she's a heel.
Jackson Baszler have no real competition. Really makes me wish they had dropped the titles to Kai Gonzalez, and then we also would have been able to avoid the whole NXT fiasco.
Right.
McIntyre versus Sheamus, no holds barred.
McIntyre.
Any rationale?
Because he is going to move on to face that other man.
Robert Lashley?
Yes. That's the one.
Yeah, so CBS Sports said Sheamus has been better in ring lately, so good for him, but McIntyre is clearly established as Lashley's Mania opponent. And even, in my opinion, seems likely to win at Mania. Like, he has a good chance of winning at Mania. He does.
I don't want him to, because Lashley's awesome.
Me neither, but I think he has a good chance of winning. So I think Sheamus winning makes no sense and is highly, highly unlikely.
Agree.
CBS Sports also suggested that this could end in a no contest and night 1 match at Mania for them. But I feel this quote-unquote blood feud has run its course and both need to move on. Lashley should face Lesnar because everyone's saying that. I think personally that would also be great, but McIntyre is a good consolation.
Right.
And our last match is Roman Reigns versus Daniel Bryan for the Universal Championship. Special guest enforcer Edge.
Roman Reigns, because Roman Reigns ain't losing anytime soon. Unless it's like a schmaz and he doesn't lose the title.
Because Roman Reigns is Roman Reigns.
Right. Roman Reigns because Roman Reigns is my official response.
No, right. That should be your response for like everything for now. Unless there's like they build an opponent. Yeah, Roman Reigns because it's Roman Reigns.
Like Bryan wins by DQ or something maybe, but I don't think so.
I also picked Roman Reigns. I think he'll win for 2 reasons. One, he's on a career. Basically.
Roman, 2, Reigns. And we're out. See you next week.
Yeah. One, he's on a career high and he shouldn't lose to Bryan, who's, I think, winding down his career. So, yes, reason 1, Roman Reigns.
Yeah.
And reason 2, I have a feeling Edge might cost Bryan the match, actually.
Yeah.
Because I saw Bryan, like, hit the running knee on him at the end of the contract signing, and Edge is already in a feud with Roman. So, if you think about it, Edge would really want to beat Roman, I feel like, at this point.
Yes, I agree.
And then I think this could also lead to a triple threat Mania, which is better for me, in my opinion. And I think then if Bryan's ending down his career, he could go out with a bang in the main event, even if he loses.
And I think they've even said, maybe Bryan himself, that he's in that phase of his career where he's looking to make other people look good, right?
And I
which
think,
is cool of him.
I think he said, or I've heard somewhere, this might be his last Mania, so I think he should go out with a bang, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Speaking of, I love that new AJR song, Bang.
All right, so our picks are locked in.
Yes,
and we will
sir.
transition into our final segment each week, as we're now just ticked over 3 hours,
we probably have to review Fastlane.
Goodness gracious. So let's get into our final segment where Jack talks about the world of wrestling figures in Figuring It Out with Jack.
We got one thing. We got a reveal on 3/16 day, which was Tuesday? Yes, Tuesday. And we got Ultimate Edition 9, and that is because it includes, yes, Stone Cold Steve Austin, and Woo, Ric Flair. So they both got quite the accessory stuff. So Austin comes with 3 pairs of interchangeable hands. He's got the open, kind of slightly open mic holding hands, and then he's got fisted hands, and then he's got like finger pointer hands, because obviously this is technically speaking a children's toy. They cannot put middle finger hands in that. So that makes sense. He's got 3 interchangeable heads. One is just like the kind of muted expression that we've been getting for a while now, and it's just kind of like the True Effects version of that. Then we kind of got a grimace expression, and then we also kind of got like a I don't know, kind of a smiling expression, mouth open expression. But the other 2 heads are open mouth, and then we got the standard one we've been getting for a while. We got his standard entrance vest. We got a microphone. We got a gold chain necklace, and then we got an Austin 316 shirt, which has the logo on the back actually, which may seem like whatever, but usually don't have the logos on the back because of the Velcro. This one does not seem to have Velcro, so I think that's because you can pop the arms and heads off of the Ultimate Edition, so you could easily like
just slide it on.
Right.
Nice. On the torso.
Right, and so now you can get the logos on the back of the shirts, which is like they usually have logos on the back, right? So
right, that does make them more realistic
right.
for sure. Instead of the Velcro strip down the back.
Right, and you get the Attitude Era WWE Championship, which is different this time because it's on the blue strap, which I think we've only seen we only saw once before.
Cool.
Which is cool. I do kind of want the Austin actually, so maybe I'll pick that up. So we got also Ric Flair wearing purple attire, and he comes with the alternate head, which is the woo expression. Woo. He's got 3 pairs of interchangeable hands. I think he's got the normal mic holding hands, just like, kind of like the normal open ones. He's got finger pointing hands again, and he's got the 4 horsemen hands, which is kind of cool.
So you could have him Fandango with the finger pointing hands.
Yes, you can have.
Perfect.
Yes, you can have everyone Fandango.
Yeah.
And I noted Austin has those instead of middle finger hands, because obviously
you can't do that.
Although I've seen people have made actually made middle finger hands.
Oh my God, people have a lot of time on their hands.
Yes. And he's also got the purple robe, of course, and the WCW World Heavyweight Championship, and a bit of a new addition just to both of these guys. And the Ultimate Edition line, I think, as a whole, they got, the double jointed shoulders, I think, similar to the UFC figures.
Right.
Which is cool, because that adds more articulation.
Yep.
These guys just need better ab crunch, and they'll be, the best figures on the planet, because they got, the toes and the double jointed shoulders now.
Yep.
They just, because, they have the hard bottom, the AEW figures are,
gummy.
Yeah,
soft.
they got, just amazing.
Yeah.
Torso articulation. But so the Ultimate Editions have more articulation now, and so that's cool. They look pretty cool. I'll probably get the Austin. Probably won't get Flair. I might. I don't know.
If it was a gift, you'll take it.
Yep.
Yeah.
No.
Absolutely.
For sure. That's it.
Short today. That's okay, because the pod was long as anticipated. We're over 3 hours, but that's okay.
Yeah, and folks, keep your eyes open for probably a Fastlane review.
I would think so. Yeah.
They seem to do well.
Yeah.
So if we have to put ourselves through torture to do it, that will probably happen.
Yep. You could probably early in the week, maybe Monday, Tuesday. We'll try and fire one out.
Yeah, Tuesday, Monday, Tuesday.
So yeah, look for that.
Early in the week.
So I guess we're into wrapping up here. So thanks to everybody who's checked us out again. If you like us, subscribe, share it, whatever you need to do, follow, all those things.
If you don't like us, let us know.
And again, you can always contact us at fnswrestling@gmail.com or fns_wrestling_podcast on Instagram. We'd love to hear from you. We can guarantee a reply from us because we don't get many people contacting us, so I got plenty of time to reply. So that would be lovely.
Unless I'm in school.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it might not be that instant, but we will definitely reply.
I
reply to YouTube comments. I reply to emails, everything.
Oh, yeah, so you can comment on YouTube. I don't know if you can comment on, the podcast stuff. I don't think you can.
Yeah, on Podbean you can.
Okay, well then, yeah, you could do that too.
Yep.
But
so, yeah, thanks to anyone that gives us any time each week. We really appreciate it. And I guess we look forward to seeing you back here next week or even hopefully earlier for our sort of bonus pods.
At some point in the next week.
Yes. And until then, everybody, take care.